the maximum level expert. She thrives in interstellar riches. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26. Welcome to the live broadcast room of Gongzi Far K3. When Jiu said this, the audience in the live broadcast room was shocked and began to send comments crazily. Pumpkin Big Guanan, why doesn't the anchor do a tasting? Is it because the level is not high enough? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. 1-star anchors can also do a tasting. There are 10 places. Big brother monkey, why not? When Jiu went back to another chopping board and cut potatoes while thinking, is it because I don't want to do a tasting? I don't have money to buy extra ingredients. These are for students and teachers to eat. She can't take them privately. So when Jiu smiled apologetically, but no one could see her smile. Everyone could only see a huge crying cat head crying and grinning. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that I work in the cafeteria and these ingredients are prepared for students and teachers. After the words fell, the comments were silent for a moment and then appeared again. Ding dang 20. Which college's cafeteria is Gongzi Far Kane? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Cafeteria. Chris was shocked again, but after thinking about it carefully, looking at the anchor's petite figure, she must be a dwarf with a difficult life. So it is reasonable for her to start a live broadcast while working in the cafeteria to make a little money to supplement her family income. No wonder the anchor's name is Gongzi Far K. It can be seen that she is very short of money. Thinking of this, Chris was moved by Wen Jiu's spirit of being disabled but strong in will, so he suddenly pressed the reward button and gave gifts to the anchor, named Gongzi Far K. User Chris wants to eat 5 bowls gave the anchor Gongzi Far K 5 little hearts. However, Wen Jiu didn't know what Chris was thinking. At this moment, he was smiling and entering today's menu on the ordering board outside the window. After receiving the reward message, Wen Jiu said again, "Thank you Chris for the little heart. Those who haven't followed me, remember to follow me." It was also time for the canteen to open for dinner, and the students once again staged a marathon of 100 people. Many students went straight to the 18th window. "Sister, what is the fish soup dumplings today?" "Potatoes, potatoes. 2 servings of my favorite Cheyenne potatoes, more spicy and no onions." Kyoshi had already prepared for the reception. She smiled and leaned in front of the window to introduce. "It's dumplings with soup, more soup than the shepherd's purse dumplings you had before. Listening to your words is like listening to your words." These people didn't care whether they understood it or not, and they all rushed to order fish soup dumplings. When Jiu also took action again, she poured the remaining shepherd's purse dumplings into the fish soup one by one. The fragrance everywhere made the people watching the live broadcast very greedy. Pumpkin Dagwanan, is the host really not going to do a food tasting? I really want to taste this pot of soup. Big brother monkey, are you planning to do hunger marketing? Big brother monkey began to suspect whether this Gongzi Far K was a marketing player invited by a restaurant. After all, this kind of thing has happened before. He started a food live broadcast, but did not do a food tasting. After that, he advertised that people who wanted to eat it should go to a certain restaurant on a certain planet. As a result, the food sold in the restaurant was completely different from what was shown in the live broadcast. Big brother monkey, who originally thought he had found a delicious food, was in a very bad mood at this time and almost wanted to report it. But when Jiu signaled the little bee to rotate the camera and shoot a circle in the next second. "I really work in the cafeteria. I can't take out this ingredient for you to eat." When Jiu picked up the boiled, translucent dumplings and looked at the barrage, "When I have extra money to buy ingredients, I will definitely do a food tasting. So please follow me, so you don't get lost. You may be able to eat it one day." As she said that, she also showed the bowl filled with milky white fish soup wrapped in ingot-shaped dumplings. Every audience member who could smell, but could not taste it could not help but drool. Even the picky monkey brother had to admit that this bowl of fish soup dumplings looked great. But what these audience members did not know was that what was even more painful was yet to come. The students lined up obediently to take away bowl after bowl of dumplings. Kyoshi also saw the little boy from yesterday in the line. "It's you. What do you want to eat?" Zikingai would never admit that he was craving for the food made by Wen Jiu. So he raised his chin with pride and said, "A bowl of fish soup dumplings. Make it quickly, or I won't eat it if it's late." Before Kyoshi could reply to him, he was squeezed by the people in the line behind him. Why is the one in front so arrogant? If you don't want to eat, let us do it. That's right, the chef inside listens to me. If he doesn't want to eat, don't sell it to him. Zikingai glared at the person behind him angrily, but he was just a 12-year-old child, and he looked like a little white rabbit. Even if he pretended to be fierce, he couldn't scare people. It was Kyoshi who handed him the bowl with a smile. "Stop whining and eat your meal." How could this cute little girl be as annoying as Wen Jiu? Zikingai took the bowl with a pout and searched for a while before finding an empty seat to sit down. He scooped up a spoonful and blew it and carefully tasted a mouthful of the fish soup. In just a moment, he was amazed by the deliciousness. The deliciousness of the fish and the sweetness of the radish mixed together, which made people salivate and couldn't help drinking soup one spoonful after another. Zikingai felt that there was a delicious taste in his mouth, which made people want to swallow his tongue. It was not until his spoon touched the bottom of the bowl with a bang that he realized that he had finished the whole bowl of fish soup. But he did not stop and quickly tasted the shepherd's purse dumplings left in the bowl. Shepherd's purse dumplings are already chewy and contain sweet fillings, but now with this rich and fragrant fish soup, he just felt like he was floating in the ocean. For some reason, Zikingai felt that his fatigue was soothed by the spring, which made his mental state better in the past few days. Wan Dalang and Liu Pao, loyal fans of Window 18 next to him, were also immersed in drinking soup at this time. Wan Dalang always eats voraciously, and even when he saw the steaming fish soup, he couldn't wait to taste it. The soup was still a little hot, and Wan Dalang felt that his tongue seemed to be burned, but the rich and fresh fragrance made him bite the scald and hold the soup in his mouth, and he swallowed it after the soup cooled down a little. The sweetness of the white radish was blended into the fish soup. The aroma of the fish spread in the tongue cavity with a hint of radish sweetness, which was endless. Wan Dalang drank up the soup in the bowl in gulps, and still felt that he was not satisfied. Pumpkin Dagwanan, if I did something wrong, please let the federal law sanction me, instead of letting me watch the students eat here. Woohoo, Chris wants to eat 5 bowls, the anchor is too much. I have eaten 4 packs of chicken breast slices to satisfy my craving, but compared with the fish soup on the screen, my chicken breast slices are as dry as paper. The first update of the day has been delivered. Thank you to the little angels who voted for the monthly vote, recommended votes and favorites. I give everyone a big heart. 030. The little cuties who didn't favorite it, remember to favorite it. Of course, it's best to be able to vote. He equals W equals. The remaining 2 updates of the day will be delivered in the afternoon and evening respectively. 030. Chapter 27. Welcome to the live broadcast room of Gongzi Far K4. When the students were ordering, Wen Jiu arranged for the little bee to change the perspective so that the little bee flew back and forth in the cafeteria and took a lot of pictures of the students eating delicious food. The effect was really good, and the audience watching the live broadcast were all angry and sending barrages. But the most outstanding performance was Chris and Monkey Brother. After the two knew that Wen Jiu had no money to buy extra ingredients and could not start the tasting, they took the lead in giving Wen Jiu rewards. User Chris wants to eat 5 bowls gave the anchor 10 little hearts to wish him good fortune. User Monkey Brother gave the anchor a bouquet of flowers to wish him good fortune. It must be said that the power of food is infinite. After these 2 people took the lead in rewarding the other dozen or so viewers who had some spare money also gave some small gifts as much as they could. Seeing that the audience who just clicked into the live broadcast room were all confused. One Big Wolf 33, isn't this a food live broadcast room? Why are all the students eating? Go up the mountain to fight the tiger. I want to ask too. I clicked the cooking tag to come in, but it looks like a food broadcast here. After filming the students, the little bee flew back again and pointed the camera at Wen Jiu. The new audience only saw the huge tearful cat head. Its eyes were misty and tears were flowing, but its mouth was smiling. It looked weird, no matter how you looked at it. Going up the mountain to fight the tiger up. Is this a supernatural live broadcast room? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. This is the food area, don't worry. Chris, who was the first to watch the live broadcast, looked like a loyal fan at this time. Others also posted a few comments one after another, all of which were to testify that they were indeed in the food area. But they all tacitly did not say that this was a food area without a tasting session. It happened that a classmate ordered a portion of Cheyenne canned potatoes, so what the audience saw was Wen Jiu picking up a portion of crooked potato strips from the water. A Big Wolf 33, if you don't understand, just ask, is it a new way to cut potatoes like this and put them in the water? Unfortunately, not many people responded to him because no one knew what food Wen Jiu was going to make. The camera of the little bee automatically focused on the movements of Wen Jiu's hands. Her 5 fingers were slender and shiny, and her wheat-colored skin was particularly eye-catching. Then, she suddenly poured the potato strips that had just been drained into the oil pan. The hot oil was crackling at this time, and the people in the live broadcast room were stunned. Ding dang 20, can this potato still be eaten? Go up the mountain to fight the tiger. Does the anchor really know how to cook? Potatoes can only be eaten after being boiled in water. This is common sense in the Federation, right? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. What are you yelling about? Let's see first. Although Chris was madly fighting back for the poor little anchor in his heart, he actually had no idea, because the man named Go Up the Mountain to Fight the Tiger said the truth. Everyone has always used boiling water to cook potatoes. Even if someone tried frying, it was just a pile of charcoal. Even dried vegetables will not use potatoes because they are too unpalatable after dehydration. He just hopes that Wen Jiu can bring him a little miracle. Wen Jiu didn't rush to explain after seeing these doubtful comments. After all, many ancient Chinese food cooking methods have been lost, and the current interstellar era is completely a dark cuisine world. So it's normal for these people not to understand her cooking method. But she didn't expect that interstellar technology has developed so much. Why can potatoes only be boiled? As the potato strips turned from light yellow to bright yellow, Wen Jiu took them out, drained the oil, and poured them into a large basin. She skillfully added salt, MSG, vinegar, sugar and other seasonings, which made the audience couldn't help but launch a comment again. Yi Xiao Dalang 33, speechless. Adding so many seasonings is a dark cuisine at first glance. If the anchor doesn't understand, don't start a food live broadcast. Pumpkin big pumpkin, don't say it so harshly in the front. It's not like there are no anchors who have created new ways of eating. Last time, Leo ZHU also tried roasted potatoes. Going up the mountain to fight the tiger. It's so funny. There must be no one who doesn't know that Leo ZHU's roasted potatoes failed. Besides, don't compare the new anchors with the big anchors. This is a low-end scam. Big brother monkey, then why do you come to see the new anchor? If you are really bored, you can go to the garbage planet to pick up garbage. Big brother monkey always speaks with thorns. Although he still doubts whether Wen Jiu is a marketing staff hired by a restaurant, he really can't stand these people talking more harshly than him. Wen Jiu is still as calm as water, but the audience still can't see her expression. All they can see is that the tearful cat head with curved lips is now drooping, looking like it has been wronged. Seeing her expression, those who originally wanted to argue a few more words also stopped. Wen Jiu then added the chili oil she made herself. As soon as the bright red chili oil was poured on the potato strips, the spicy aroma drifted out with her stirring. Her movements were done in one go, and after mixing, she poured it into a bowl and handed it to Kao Shishi, who then handed it to the waiting students. The little bee that was originally filming Wen Jiu's movements also flew outside, quietly filming the students who were eating with relish in midair. The audience looked at the students, each of whom was smiling while eating, and the aroma from time to time reminded them that the food was really delicious. The people who had previously been sarcastic no longer continued to sneer, but instead posted a barrage of comments asking Wen Jiu to start a food tasting. broken into glass shards. Just entered. Can I catch up with the host's food tasting? Go up the mountain. To fight the tiger, the host doesn't start a food tasting. Could it be that some additives to increase the aroma were used? However, such inquiries are bound to disappoint them. Wen Jiu's tone was still very gentle, but the words he said were cold. For personal reasons, the tasting will not be open for the time being. If you want to eat, you can go to the live broadcast room of the big anchor. After she finished speaking, she changed back to a gentle tone in an instant. Friend named Glass Slag, remember to follow me. I will remind you when the tasting starts. The completely different attitudes towards these two comments made Shang Shendahu very angry. He was about to send a few more comments to refute, but the system prompted that he had been blocked by the anchor Gong Zifake and could not send comments in the live broadcast room. This made him even more angry, and he immediately exited the live broadcast room and went to other anchors. But no matter how much he watched his favorite food anchors, he could not get the salivating feeling he had just in Gong Zifake's live broadcast room. He even went to the top food anchor, and it happened that Leo Wang next door was also making potatoes, but they were just ordinary boiled potatoes. Shang Shendahu looked at the white potatoes that were boiled like mud, and he couldn't get up any appetite at all, and even felt a little disgusted. After watching it for a while, he finally chose to open a small account and return to the live broadcast room that blocked him. The second update has been delivered. Please check it out, little angels. Thank you to the little angels who voted for the monthly ticket, recommended ticket and favorited it. I'm working hard to speed up the updates to repay you. Ha ha ha. New little cuties, please also collect it. It would be best if you can vote. Love you. 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28. Welcome to the live broadcast room of Gong Zifake 5. The camera happened to be filming Wen Jiu again, and she was seen cutting some kind of wheat on the chopping board. She explained as she cut. Now we are making scrambled eggs with tun buds. Let's chop the tun buds first, then beat 2 eggs and mix them. From time to time, there were barrages flying by. The popularity of Wen Jiu's live broadcast room had risen to 200 at this time, which means that there are at least 100 people watching the live broadcast. Ding dang 20. So this thing is called tun buds. There is this kind of tree near my home. Every spring, there is a strange fragrance. After seeing this comment, Wen Jiu spoke again. The ones picked like this are called tun buds. The tree near your house should be called Chinese tun tree. Chinese tun likes light, warmth and is relatively tolerant to moisture. It usually grows in fertile and moist soil near rivers or around houses. 1. The bark is rough and dark brown, and it falls off in flakes. 1. And Chinese tun contains calcium, phosphorus, potassium, sodium and other ingredients. It has the functions of nourishing the kidneys and promoting hair growth, reducing inflammation, stopping bleeding and relieving pain, and promoting qi, regulating blood and strengthening the stomach. 1. This made the audience very curious. They felt that they learned a lot while watching the food live broadcast. Ding dang 20. Sister Fake knows a lot. Is she a part-time teacher in the college? Pumpkin Dagwan, and I feel that Sister Fake speaks better than the teachers in our college. I wonder which college Sister Fake is from. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Sister Fake is actually a teacher. It was fine before. Everyone just simply called Wen Jiu the anchor. I don't know who started the barrage and called Wen Jiu Sister Fake. Now everyone followed suit and called her by this name. Wen Jiu was too lazy to correct them, thinking that they could call her whatever they wanted. Next, she mixed the chopped tun buds with the egg liquid, and the chopsticks spun rapidly in the bowl, with the clang of stirring constantly ringing out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Eggs are usually boiled in water, right? Is the anchor deliberately messing around to increase the popularity? The one who was previously blocked entered the live broadcast room with a small account, but he still couldn't help but say a few words. However, Wen Jiu ignored him this time, because before she could speak, the viewers who had been watching from the beginning to now couldn't help but fight back. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. You are so good at talking. Why don't you start a live broadcast to cook? Big brother monkey. It's so funny. Didn't you see that the food Sister Farke made before was so delicious? Although we didn't taste it, we knew that Sister Farke's cooking skills were good just by the appearance. Actually, Monkey Brother didn't want to speak for Wen Jiu, but he felt that since he, a gourmet, hadn't commented yet, how could a first level account that came out of nowhere have the right to comment? Wen Jiu once again demonstrated his skillful skills in scrambling eggs, and waves of egg fragrance followed. Sister, what is the chef inside making? It smells so good. The students who were waiting for the food outside the window suddenly smelled the fragrance and curiously pulled the window to look inside. Kyoshi didn't correct the senior for calling her junior sister. She just smiled and greeted him. Limited supply of dishes, 30 star coins per serving. When the students outside the window heard it, they immediately and quietly scanned 30 star coins to the collection account of window number 18. So the plate of scrambled eggs with ton butts that Wen Jiu had just taken out of the pot came into his hands. In order to prevent others from misunderstanding, Wen Jiu also specially instructed Kyoshi. We have an event at window 18 today. All the lucky students who are selected can buy a special dish for 30 star coins. As soon as Kyoshi finished speaking, the students who were still queuing behind her became agitated, hoping that they could become the lucky student. Unfortunately, there were not many tongue butts, and Wen Jiu only fried 6 or 7 plates of tongue butt scrambled eggs before they were all gone. The students who had eaten the special dishes praised them one after another, while the students who didn't eat them felt their mouths watering just by smelling the smell. The same was true for the viewers in the live broadcast room who could only smell and see but not eat. Wen Jiu's business hours this time were shorter than yesterday because more students came to window 18 to eat. But she and Kyoshi had to spend more time washing dishes because there were more dishes to wash. Wen Jiu had already turned off the live broadcast at this time. Because the report on the live broadcast income would not be sent to her until the next day, she stopped caring after turning off the live broadcast and exiting the Star Network. However, a small wave of storms was brewing in the forum of the food section of Bikalev. I finally discovered the treasure anchor in the food section. Because the poster's level was not low, many people clicked in to browse the post. The poster wrote a full 1,000 words to describe the scene seen in Wen Jiu's live broadcast room today, and even used rainbow farts to brag about the taste of the food made by Wen Jiu. What fresh and fragrant soup, milky white, rich and tempting, and golden fried eggs are tender and crispy, etc. People who don't know think that he said so after eating it. They asked which food anchor it was. Of course, there were also doubters. Only Monkey Brother, who browsed the post casually after watching the live broadcast, smiled knowingly at the account that posted the post. After thinking for a moment, he reposted the post and added 2 simple words. True. Chris, who originally wanted to confront the netizens who questioned him, laughed out loud when he saw Monkey Brother's repost. After confirming with his eyes, he was a person with the same bad morals. Although Chris's account level is higher, it is still an ordinary account after all. Many people who read the post didn't care much about the content of his post when they saw that the anchor he promoted was only rated 1 star. Many people said that he was a water rummy hired by the anchor. However, these people calmed down a lot after seeing that Monkey Brother reposted it, because Monkey Brother is a well-known gourmet and was invited to attend the Bikalev annual meeting and has written articles for many foodie magazines. Most people who like to pay attention to food naturally know the existence of Monkey Brother. So these people, with curiosity, clicked into the anchor account named Gongzi Farke, wanting to watch the playback to find out whether it was true or not. Unfortunately, Wen Jiu didn't know how to set up automatic saving of live broadcast recordings, so they didn't see anything. But with this momentum, Chris's post floated on the front page of the food forum for a while. It successfully increased Wen Jiu's followers, who were only a few, to about 100 in an instant. It's just that the person involved knew nothing about it. Wen Jiu and Kyoshi were exhausted again after washing the dishes and returning to the dormitory. Kyoshi finally gave up the image of a little princess that she had been trying so hard to maintain and collapsed on the bed, saying, "My limbs feel so sore. What should I do for the fighting class this afternoon?" Her words instantly reminded Wen Jiu what kind of soreness and fatigue can't be solved by a massage. So Wen Jiu rolled over from her bed and crawled to the side of Kyoshi's bed. She smiled and said to Kyoshi, "My beauty, would you like to try the ancient Chinese art of relaxing muscles and bones? The last update of today has been delivered. Thank you all little angels for your monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and collections. With your support, I'm full of motivation to write. 030 new little cuties, remember to collect it. Of course, it would be best if you could vote love you. PS. 1. Quoted from Baidu Encyclopedia Toon. Chapter 29 Combat Training 1. Kyoshi was stunned for a moment after hearing these words, but she quickly followed Wen Jiu's instructions and lay down, stretching out her snow-white arms. Wen Jiu was actually a little tired at the moment, but she felt embarrassed thinking about how Kyoshi had accompanied him to wash the dishes so many times. So she thought of doing something small to repay her in advance. Good massage can dredge the meridians, promote the flow of qi in blood, relieve pain, eliminate evil and strengthen the body, harmonize yin and yang, and prolong life. 1. Wen Jiu stood by the bed, pulled out Kyoshi's arm, and began to massage it carefully. It seemed that he was just randomly pressing left and right, but in fact, every time Wen Jiu pressed, he firmly landed on the acupuncture points. Kyoshi lay on her back on the bed. At first, she was curious and wanted to observe Wen Jiu's techniques more, but before she had pressed for long, she felt the soreness in her arm slowly fade away, followed by an inexplicable sense of comfort. She couldn't help but close her eyes and slowly fell asleep. Wen Jiu dutifully massaged all of Kyoshi's limbs. When she woke up again, she felt refreshed and her fatigue was gone. Jiu, your ancient Chinese art of relaxing muscles and bones is amazing. Kyoshi got up from the bed and moved around. I feel full of energy again. Wen Jiu was sitting on the bed massaging her legs. That's good. I still have classes in the afternoon. Kyoshi suddenly became a little depressed when she heard her say that. The fighting class in the afternoon is taught by Teacher Yu. I heard that she is very fierce in beating people. Teacher Yu. Could it be the one she knew? Isn't it good to beat people fiercely? Wen Jiu thought for a while. This is the only way to teach us fighting skills well. Soon Wen Jiu wanted to take back her naive words. It was rare for her and Kyoshi to have classes together, so they came to the fighting arena in the training ground together. The fighting arena took up a large area, and the bright red color was very conspicuous. There were several weapon racks on the far left and right of the stage, with all kinds of guns, swords, bows, and arrows. Unlike the previous class, Yu had already stood on the fighting stage waiting for the students to arrive. Her eyebrows and eyes were beautiful but cold, and she was wearing a tight black dress that showed off her slim figure, but no one dared to look down on this stunning beauty. Wen Jiu and Kyoshi didn't come early, and there were already more than a dozen students standing obediently under the stage, so the two of them hurried to the stage and stood in the line. Seeing that it was Wen Jiu, Yuruman's red lips curled up into a faint smile, which was quite charming. Wen Jiu seemed to sense that someone was looking at her, and she looked up and saw Yuruman's smiling face. The other party had helped her solve a lot of problems before, so Wen Jiu blinked and looked at Yuruman, which was considered a response. Maybe because Yuruman's hot temper was well known, this time all the students had arrived before the class bell rang. My last name is Yu. I'm sure many students know me. Yuruman looked at the group of well-behaved little kids in front of her with satisfaction. Today I will teach you how to master fighting skills. I have always believed that practice makes perfect, so today everyone will form teams of 2 and try to fight against their teammates. As she said that, she took out a whip from behind and slammed it on the ground. The sharp snapping sound instantly rang out, making the students a little scared. No one expected that they would have to fight with real guns and live ammunition in the first class, and they all looked at each other in surprise. Wen Jiu still looked calm and even began to think about what weapons she wanted to practice fighting. Let's find teammates to form a team first. As soon as Yu Rumen finished speaking, Wen Jiu saw Zikingai walking over with a proud face. Wen Jiu, I want to team up with you. Zikingai has a delicate appearance, and her dark peach blossom eyes give off a harmless atmosphere when she looks at people. 5. After hearing this, the two of them walked up the steps on the left and right. Li Mozen was a somewhat sturdy boy, taller than his peers. Sun Mayo was short and looked a little frail. The two followed Yu Rumen's arrangement and started to choose from the weapon rack. After a while, Li Mozen picked out a new X92 assault rifle. The huge rifle fit him perfectly when he picked it up. Unexpectedly, Sun Mayo also picked out the same model of assault rifle, but when she picked up such a large rifle, she looked like a child playing with adult items. When Yu Rumen saw that the two had finished their selections, a crystal green light flew out of her hand and split into two. After approaching Li Mozen and Sun Mayo, the two balls of green light started from their chests and covered their entire bodies. When the light disappeared, they were both wearing armor that seemed to be made of vines, covering them from head to toe, leaving only their faces and hands outside. Although I have prepared a medical cabin for everyone, we still have to stop at the right time. Yu Rumen clapped her hands after she finished speaking, and a brighter green light immediately covered the entire fighting stage, forming an arc barrier. Let's start. After the words fell, Li Mozen took the lead in raising the assault rifle and loading it, aiming and shooting at Sun Mayo's position without mercy. Sun Mayo was unexpectedly responsive, constantly turning over to dodge, and bullets fell behind her, making bullet holes one after another on the fighting stage. When Li Mozen finished firing a round of bullets, only a few shots fell on Sun Mayo, and those shots were blocked by the vine armor. When he was about to change the magazine, Sun Mayo, who had been dodging, suddenly raised his rifle and shot Li Mozen in the chest accurately. Li Mozen was stunned for a moment and wanted to dodge, but Sun Mayo's bullets were like a built-in tracker, shooting straight at him. Seeing that his vine armor was about to be broken by Sun Mayo, Li Mozen quickly raised his hands to surrender. I give up. Today's first update has been delivered. Please check it out. Thank you to every little angel for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and collections. With your support, I'm full of motivation to write 030 at the same time. Welcome new little cuties. If you like it, please click to collect it. Of course, it would be best if you can vote PS. 1. From Baidu Encyclopedia to Inner. The models of assault rifles are all made up by me. Please don't take them seriously. Chapter 30 Combat Training 2. As soon as he finished speaking, Sun Mayo, who was shooting closely behind him, stopped shooting immediately. Sun Mayo, as if he had trained for many years, put away his rifle and hung it behind him, standing upright with a firm look. The people in the audience were talking about it at this time. Many people did not expect Sun Mayo to be so good at firearms. Many people had discussed it in a low voice before the battle, saying that Sun Mayo looked as weak as a grass and probably couldn't even lift his gun. As a result, Sun Mayo defeated Li Mozen, who was a head taller than him, with only one round of bullets. This shocked the students watching the battle. But Wen Jiu was not surprised. After Sun Mayo came on stage, she saw the confidence in his eyes when he decisively picked up the gun, and his seemingly thin but tight and well-trained muscles. Li Mozen was a little hesitant when choosing a firearm. He thought for a long time before choosing the assault rifle. He was not very skilled when aiming and loading the gun. He was big, but his posture was not flexible enough. Naturally, he could not compete with Sun Mayo, who had been trained for many years. Come down. Are you injured? Yu Rumen tapped the barrier lightly, and two gaps appeared on the steps for them to enter and exit. The two people on the stage shook their heads when they heard it, and Yu Rumen removed the vine armor on them. After confirming that the two were indeed intact, she announced that the second group of students would enter. Wen Jiu stood in the audience, watching the fights of other students carefully. She found that most of the students here had learned martial arts to some extent, and most of them were proficient in using weapons. So she concentrated on observing the movements of these people, trying to learn more, until Yu Rumen opened her red lips and looked at her. Number 5, Wen Jiu and Zikingai. The two people who were called came out together, bowed and shook hands according to the rules, and then they separated and went on stage from the left and right sides. After going on stage, Wen Jiu found that the fighting stage was much larger than she saw from the audience. Not only was it very empty, but the ground seemed to be made of some special material. The place where the bullet holes were shot before seemed to repair itself automatically. Now there was no trace left, only a flat area. Wen Jiu glanced at the weapon rack. Most of the students who came on stage before chose firearms. Few people used cold weapons in this era. But Wen Jiu still chose a long sword. She gripped the dark golden hilt tightly and pulled out the sword, then turned around and looked at the opposite side. Ziqingyu on the right also chose her weapon, the Orlok 19 pistol. It was short and powerful, and its range was just within the range of the fighting stage. It was also light and felt good, so even someone of Ziqingyu's age could get started quickly. When he saw Wen Jiu holding a long sword, he couldn't help but sneer. In this day and age, how could anyone still use such a difficult to use cold weapon? Since Wen Jiu made the choice, don't blame him for beating her. Be prepared for battle. Yu Ruman's voice came slowly. Begin. As soon as she finished speaking, Ziqingyu quickly loaded the gun and pulled the safety. He raised the pistol and aimed without hesitation and pulled the trigger with his index finger to shoot the bullet rapidly in the direction of Wen Jiu. With the bang of the bullet, after it was fired from the muzzle, Ziqingyu's mouth corners slightly raised. This time he will never lose to Wen Jiu again. However, the next second, a hint of surprise appeared in Ziqingyu's confident expression, and his peach blossom eyes also widened slightly at this time. Wen Jiu, who was standing on the left side of the fighting stage, was calm and dodged the bullet that was shot at her quickly. She stared at Ziqingyu with shining grey blue eyes like a hunting wolf and ran to the right side of the fighting stage after avoiding the bullet at a very fast speed. Ziqingyu was inexplicably a little panicked, and there was only one thought in his mind. That is, he must get rid of Wen Jiu and not let her get close. After all, he was trained before entering school, so Ziqingyu reacted quickly. He fired again in the direction of Wen Jiu's running, but the opponent's speed was faster than his bullet, and only one bullet flew by Wen Jiu's arm. But with the existence of the vine armor, the bullet did not cause any harm to Wen Jiu. Ziqingyu was nervous, and he quickly retreated to try to increase the distance between him and Wen Jiu, while quickly dismantling the magazine. Although he thought that Wen Jiu had to get close to attack him, he still did not dare to relax at all. And Wen Jiu was like a cat walking a mouse. She stared at Ziqingyu intently, and gradually a smile emerged. Bang bang. Ziqingyu changed the magazine and quickly fired a few shots at Wen Jiu. At this time, the distance between Wen Jiu and Ziqingyu was only 10 meters away, which shocked everyone in the audience. At such a close distance, anyone who saw it would think that these shots would hit the target without a doubt. But Wen Jiu had a calm face, and her slender knuckles tightly grasped the hilt of the sword. She raised her right hand and chopped it down with force. Then, when the tail of the sword was about to touch the ground, she flexibly made a sword flower, and then turned around neatly and used the sword to shoot out a sword energy as fast as lightning. The bullet flying towards her was instantly hit by the sword energy, and then it was cut in half and fell to the ground. Ziqingyu was stunned by her move. He had never seen such a move. However, Wen Jiu did not care about the gazes of Ziqingyu and the people in the audience. He turned the hilt with a smile in his eyes. The slender and thin sword body blew a breeze as it spun. Then she kicked the ground and ran away. Everyone could only see her vague figure. In an instant, Wen Jiu's silver sword reflected a cold light in the sun, and the tip of the sword pointed directly at Ziqingyu's fragile neck. The breeze blew gently, causing her clothes to flutter, and the short platinum hair hanging on her shoulders fluttered in the wind. The air seemed to be still, and the audience was silent. Ziqingyu's originally confident eyes were now covered with a layer of mist, and the chill kept coming over him. Even with the protection of the vine armor, he could personally feel the murderous aura of Wen Jiu's sword. Plop. Tears kept rolling down, but he was still biting his lips stubbornly, suppressing the fear in his heart. You lost. Wen Jiu at this time was completely different from usual. Her grey blue eyes were cold and indifferent without a trace of emotion. After speaking, Zikingayu was a face-saving child after all. He sniffed and held back his tears and yelled, "I didn't give up." When he said this, his hand holding the gun tried to shoot at Wen Jiu and struggled again. But his idea soon fell through, because when Jiu discovered his action, she drew back the sword and turned it over, and the dark golden hilt hit his wrist holding the gun in an instant. The pain came, and Zikingayu was beaten to loosen his hand, and the pistol instantly fell straight to the ground. Zikingayu, you lose. Wen Jiu's tone was calm, without any ups and downs. PS. The pistol is also made up by me, there is no source. Please don't take it seriously. Chapter 31 Combat Training 3. Okay, that's enough. Yu-Ruman came back to her senses and quickly stopped the two people on the stage from continuing to fight. She had seen the video of Wen Jiu's previous fight against Shigang and others, so she knew that Wen Jiu's fighting skills were good, but she didn't expect that the other party would be so indifferent during the fight, like a fighting robot without emotions. Because Yu-Ruman spoke, Wen Jiu neatly retracted his sword without even a spare glance at Zikingayu. This was tantamount to further damaging Zikingayu's already injured self-esteem. He slowly walked off the stage, lowering his head in disappointment, blocking the sympathetic eyes of others. On the other side, Wen Jiu remained indifferent, with a kind of coldness that kept people away from him. Wow, Jiu, you are really good at fighting. Kyoshi pushed away the students who were watching and rushed to Wen Jiu's side. But Wen Jiu just looked at her expressionlessly without any response. Kyoshi swallowed nervously, thinking that Wen Jiu might not have recovered from the battle, so she still held Wen Jiu's slender arm and began to talk about how she planned to fight with her teammates later. As she continued to talk, Wen Jiu gradually returned to his usual lively and moving state. "I think you can try short sword close combat," Wen Jiu said softly. Hearing this, Kyoshi smiled sweetly, and the other party finally responded to her words. However, Kyoshi's team was later in line, and she had to wait until the team in front of her finished fighting before it was her turn. So the two sat on the ground like other students in the audience, waiting for the people on the stage to finish fighting. After Kyoshi saw that Wen Jiu was no longer as indifferent as before, she watched the fights of others with peace of mind. But Wen Jiu maintained a smile on the surface, but was very confused in his heart. She had practiced swordsmanship for a long time in the past, and when she competed with her senior brothers and sisters in swordsmanship, she was also happy and stopped at the right time, and she had never been as close to losing control as she was today. Just as the bullet fired by Zikingayu passed by her, she inexplicably had the idea of killing the other party. And as the battle time prolonged, this idea gradually took over her rationality. So when she pointed her sword at Zikingayu later, she really wanted to kill him. If the tip of her sword had moved forward half a centimeter, it would have pierced the vine armor on the other party's neck. Fortunately, she woke up in time, so no disaster happened. Even if Zikingayu, this stinky-faced kid, had a bit of a bad temper, she would not want to kill him for no reason. This feeling of being out of control was very strange, but Wen Jiu thought about it for a long time and couldn't figure out the reason. Number 10. Kyoshi and Minahan. After being called by Yu-Ruman, Kyoshi walked forward quickly. The one fighting against her was a little lolly with blonde hair and blue eyes. The two looked very similar, so the students watching from the audience did not talk too much. Wen Jiu also pulled himself out of his thoughts, put on a smile, and made a gesture of encouragement to Kyoshi who was about to go on stage. Kyoshi naturally saw Wen Jiu cheering her up, and her confidence was doubled. The two of them each selected weapons on the weapon rack for a while, and after selecting, they prepared for the battle. However, what surprised the students below the stage was that Kyoshi and Minahan unexpectedly chose melee cold weapons. Kyoshi chose a short knife, while Minahan chose a battle axe. Judging from their similar sweet appearance, they didn't look like people who would use such weapons. But when Yu-Ruman announced the start of the battle, both of them rushed to the center of the fighting stage like arrows from a bow. Clang! The short knife and the battle axe collided, making a crisp and pleasant sound. Then Kyoshi flexibly dodged Minahan's horizontal battle axe, turned around, held the short knife, and stabbed Minahan's right arm. She took advantage of the gap when the opponent raised his battle axe and was about to chop down, and instantly seized the opportunity to jump up from the ground and landed directly behind Minahan. The next second, Kyoshishi's arms were around Minahan, and the short knife was tightly pressed against the opponent's neck. "I give up." Minahan had just finished speaking when Kyoshishi let her go. The two hugged each other in a friendly manner and then turned and walked off the stage. "My fighting skills are pretty good, right?" After winning the battle, Kyoshishi was very happy and she jumped to sit next to Wen Jiu. "It's very good." Wen Jiu was a little surprised at Kyoshishi's performance just now. He didn't expect that the opponent was so good at fighting. "How long have you practiced?" 2 or 3 years. Kyoshishi thought about it. She was very interested in fighting since she was a child, and she was determined to become an armed mecha soldier. But her family only wanted her to be a good girl. It was only after her cousin returned to planet 3047 from the military district during a temporary leave 2 years ago that she was able to get in touch with these. When Jiu nodded, she saw the sadness in Kyoshishi's eyes. But there were too many people at the moment, so she felt it was not a good time to ask questions. The two of them watched other students fight seriously for a while, and soon it was time to end the get out of class. Today's fighting training is over. Uruman jumped onto the fighting stage lightly, looking down at the students below. "Go back and have a good rest. If you feel any discomfort, go to the medical room for treatment in time." After Uruman announced the disbandment, many students walked towards their destinations. When Jiu and Kyoshishi naturally walked slowly towards the cafeteria again. The shepherd's purse dumplings had been sold out, and when Jiu thought that she could change the menu to fish soup noodles, she had already started a live broadcast at noon, so when she started the live broadcast again, she was no longer so unfamiliar. On the other side, Chris was trying to make the fried eggs with tun butts that he found when watching the live broadcast at noon. He saw that Wen Jiu's steps were very simple. Just chop the tun buds and mix them with egg liquid, then pour them into the pan and fry them for a while. So he waited until Wen Jiu finished sewing, and then hurried to the supermarket to look for ingredients. Fortunately, the supermarket had a full range of vegetables, even plants that looked like weeds were sold. And the price of tuna buds was quite cheap, and you could buy a large bundle for only 20 star coins. Chris thought that he had a big appetite, so he bought 3 bundles of tuna buds. He finally cut the 3 bundles of tuna buds, and after pouring them into the bowl, he found that there was not enough egg liquid. So he took out 7 or 8 eggs and beat them into the bowl and stirred them for a long time before the tuna buds and egg liquid were completely mixed. Finally, it was time to put them in the pot. Chris thought happily that he could become a chef who made delicious food. He poured the mixed egg liquid into the pot, turned the fire to the highest, and started to stir fry. But there was too much egg liquid. The bottom layer solidified, but the inside was still liquid. Chris was a little flustered while frying until a big fire broke out in the pot, and he was so scared that he threw away the spatula, followed by thick black smoke. Seeing the fire getting bigger and bigger, Chris quickly fled the kitchen. Fortunately, the kitchen was equipped with a smoke alarm system, and soon the security guards arrived at the scene, which put out the fire in the kitchen. Chris was covered in ash from the smoke, and after paying the security guards a sum of star coins, he fell exhausted on the sofa. He never thought that things would develop like this. Now the kitchen is a mess, and he needs to hire a special cleaning robot. So he clicked on the wisdom ring, wanting to hire a low-price cleaning robot. But he just received a reminder from the Bukalev broadcast. "Dear user, hello. The anchor you follow Gongzi Farke has started broadcasting. Do you want to watch it? Today's third update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your monthly votes, recommended votes and favorites. Today is the last day for me to try Park. I hope everyone who has votes can vote. If you don't have votes, you can check in or comment. Thank you very much. Cat PS. I don't know if you will feel that there are too many characters that appear, and it is easy to confuse, so let me explain here that the heroine's fixed friends are currently only Kyoshishi and Zikingayu. Chapter 32 Hot and Sour Shredded Potatoes 1. When Jiu didn't know what happened to Chris, she just saw that he was the first viewer to enter the live broadcast room. so she greeted him with a smile. Welcome, Chris wants to eat 5 bowls to the live broadcast room. See you again. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Sister Fake, why did the fried eggs with ton buds catch fire when I made them? When Jiu was processing the remaining spiny fish, she glanced at the comments and said, cooking is like this. If you are not careful, anything you do may catch fire. But she thought again. Since this person named Chris wants to eat 5 bowls asked this question, he must have tried to make fried eggs with ton buds in private. Generally speaking, a small amount of tun buds and 2 eggs are enough for one person's portion of ton bud scrambled eggs. Wen Jiu said, while stretching out his fingers to gesture, after mixing the chopped tun buds with the egg liquid, put them in the pan and fry until the egg liquid solidifies and turns golden yellow. Then you can serve. Pumpkin dagwanan, woohoo. Sister Fake, I failed to make tun bud scrambled eggs. She was talking about how to make tun bud scrambled eggs when she saw another viewer who had watched the live broadcast at noon post a comment. I didn't expect these viewers to try cooking in private. Wen Jiu thought to herself that she could explain the steps in detail when making some simple dishes later. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. The person in front is a fellow traveler. I also failed. I almost caused a fire. Then, these 2 dark cuisine masters who also failed in cooking exchanged their cooking experiences. Wen Jiu looked at the comment from time to time, but his hands did not slow down at all. In the blink of an eye, a spiny fish was cleaned up. Ding dang 20. Come to think of it, why did Sister Fake treat the spiny fish like this? This is the first time I have seen someone treat fish like this. Wen Jiu picked up a spiny fish that had not yet been treated and patiently explained. The gills and internal organs of a fish are not nutritious for human consumption, and the gills are the passages through which fish breathe and filter water, which are easily contaminated with bacteria from the outside world, and will contain a lot of dirty blood and mucus. 1. The internal organs usually have a lot of dirt left, and once the fish dies, it will accelerate the reproduction of bacteria, so we need to remove the gills and internal organs when treating the fish. As she spoke, she slowly showed everyone how to remove the gills and remove the internal organs. Next, we will scrape off the fish scales. The fish soup boiled with fish scales will affect some of the taste and texture. This step is to make it taste better. After finally finishing the fish, Wen Jiu cleaned the spiny fish again. Big brother monkey, are you still making fish soup dumplings tonight? Tonight, I'll make fish soup noodles. Wen Jiu answered, and quickly treated the remaining fish. Wanzhao, excuse me, why is the host cooking so fancy? Banana, are there any friends from the food forum? Is the host really as good as the post says? Not so fancy. Wen Jiu started to heat the pan and heat the oil. She felt that the dishes she was making were very simple. She didn't make dragon and phoenix or Wensi tofu. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. I'm the poster. Sister Fake's cooking is really delicious. You will know if you continue to watch. Due to the small wave of popularity of Chris's post, the audience of Wen Jiu's live broadcast room suddenly increased from a dozen people at noon to nearly 100. With more people, there will naturally be some discordant voices. Wanzhao, the people in front, are not the water army hired by the host. The spiny fish is obviously washed and boiled directly. Frying it in a pan is a pure waste of ingredients. I'm so hungry. Some people have tried deep fried spiny fish before, and the taste is okay, but I don't know how this host will do. Actually, Wen Jiu couldn't figure it out either. It seemed that most people here cooked by boiling. No matter what the ingredients were, just boil a pot of hot water and throw it in to cook. But she ignored these people's questions. After all, it would be more convincing to let them smell the fragrance than to explain it. Now the oil is hot. Put the spiny fish in and fry until golden. As she said that, Wen Jiu put the spiny fish into the pot along the edge of the pot. The pot provided by the cafeteria was large enough to hold 4 or 5 spiny fish for frying. After frying to this extent, we can pour in clean water. Wen Jiu put down the spatula, took a large basin from behind, and poured clean water into the pot. Seeing this, the barrage was full of bad words again. Wanzhao, I can't stand it anymore. This is just messing around. Big brother monkey, then just leave. Why do you have to post a barrage of comments? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although, it is the freedom of others, to post or not to post barrage, right? Pumpkin Dagwanan, don't leave, Sister Fake's cooking is really delicious. If you leave, you will lose this treasure anchor. The popularity in the live broadcast room has gradually decreased. Now there are only 50 or 60 people still watching in the live broadcast room. Wen Jiu is still calm and composed. He took out the dough he had kneaded before and used a rolling pin to make it. Today I will make fish soup noodles. I don't know how many friends have eaten noodles. If you are interested, I will make a tutorial to teach you how to make noodles in detail. The audience watched Wen Jiu holding the rolling pin, and a large mass of white unidentified objects slowly turned into a background cake under her hands, and then became flatter and flatter. After estimating the thickness, Wen Jiu took out a kitchen knife, folded the dough, and neatly divided it into many portions. I'm so hungry, although I don't know what the anchor is doing. She looks very powerful. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Noodles? This is another food I haven't eaten before. I don't know how it tastes. Chris sighed while sending barrages. When can he wait for Gongzi Fake to buy ingredients and start tasting? He really wants to taste the food. There are more than 10 people who have the same idea as him. They are all people who watched Wen Jiu's live broadcast at noon. They all want to taste the food made by Wen Jiu. After all, just by smelling the smell and looking at the appearance, you know that it must taste good. User Monkey Brother gave the anchor Gongzi Fake 10 bouquets of flowers. Thank you Monkey Brother for the 10 bouquets of flowers. Wen Jiu is cutting potatoes at this moment. She doesn't have any ingredients to use, but it is completely feasible to replace Cheyenne potatoes with hot and sour potato shreds. After all, she has been making Cheyenne potatoes for a few days, and she feels that she still needs to change the taste. Today, in addition to fish soup noodles, I will also make hot and sour potato shreds. She cuts potatoes very quickly, but the potato shreds are uniform in thickness and glow yellow under the light. The first update of the day has been delivered. After the 2-day trial, it will be temporarily restored to 2 updates per day. Thank you to every little angel for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and favorites. Thank you very much for your support. If you like it, please remember to favorite and vote for me. 030 PS. 1. From Baiduku and AY. Do we remove the gills and internal organs of fish when storing them? Mumbling, the test is over, and I don't know if I can successfully advance. I feel that, although there are many little cuties, I don't know why my data is still quite low. After the data came out last night, I was very anxious. I tossed and turned in bed, wondering if my writing was really bad. I couldn't fall asleep until after 3 o'clock. But after waking up in the morning, I was not so anxious. Ha 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 ha. Now I just have to keep a happy attitude and wait for the results. Whether it passes or not, I will insist on writing. Of course, I still hope that it will pass smoothly. ****. Thank you again to every little angel who supports me. When I think of your support, I'm full of energy and enthusiasm. Yeah. Chapter 33 Spicy and Sour Potato Shreds 2. I'm so hungry. Hot and sour potato shreds? I think I saw other anchors make it before. Is it from the ancient Chinese cookbook? Wen Jiu has never read the ancient Chinese cookbook, so he doesn't know if the recipes in it are the same as his own. He can only answer, the names of the dishes are the same, but the methods may be slightly different. Broken into glass shards. Oh, I caught up with the live broadcast. I watched Sister Fake cook at noon, and it was so delicious that I went to the supermarket to buy a lot of snacks in the afternoon. However, Wen Jiu didn't rush to make hot and sour potato shreds. When the fish soup was boiled, she threw in the remaining white radish shreds from lunch. Then she grabbed a bowl of noodles and put it in the colander and put it into the steaming fish soup to cook the noodles. The moment she opened the lid of the pot, the fresh aroma that stimulated people's appetite wafted away. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. It smells so good that I feel like drooling, even if I smell it again. I'm so hungry, my tears flowed out of my mouth. When will the host start the tasting? Pumpkin Dagwanan, let's congratulate the unlucky newcomer. Sister Fake can't start the tasting for personal reasons. Are you surprised or not? After seeing the barrage that Wen Jiu couldn't start the tasting, a lot of question marks followed. Banana, damn, I was fooled. The one who posted it, come out and I promise not to beat you to death. I'm so hungry. What's going on? Why don't you start the tasting? Woohoo. I'm so hungry. Wen Jiu looked at the barrage they posted and inexplicably wanted to laugh. But she had to explain what needed to be explained. So she said, I'm sorry, because I don't have money to buy extra ingredients for the time being. So I can't start the tasting. She repeated the reason she explained at noon again. Fortunately, most of the viewers in the live broadcast room were more reasonable. They all clicked to follow and waited for the day when they could start the tasting. When the noodles are cooked to this degree, they can be served. Wen Jiu poured the noodles from the colander into the bowl and then scooped a few spoonfuls of fish soup on top. Finally, we'll put some chopped green onions on top. As she explained, the little bee in charge of filming very intelligently zoomed in the camera and aimed at the bowl of steaming fish soup noodles. The bright white noodles and the milky white fish soup interweave a harmonious picture, and the chopped green onions are steamed by the hot steam, and the fragrance is mixed with the fresh fragrance of the fish soup. Big brother monkey, this looks delicious too. Which college does Sister Farke work in? I want to come to the college to find you. Big brother monkey was rarely attracted to this. He thought that if Wen Jiu was a staff member of the 4 major colleges, he could use his connections to have a big meal in the college. Sorry, it's not convenient to disclose. Wen Jiu still attaches great importance to privacy protection, so he declined the idea proposed by Big Brother Monkey. Let's eat. She handed the bowl of noodles that had been cooked first to Kyoshi, who was not captured by the camera, and then made another bowl for herself. User Chris wants to eat 5 bowls presents the anchor with 3 bouquets of flowers. User Pumpkin Dagwanan presents the anchor with 5 bouquets of flowers. User Ding Dang 20 presents the anchor with 10 little hearts. The reminder sound of the audience's reward kept ringing, which surprised Wen Jiu a little. She bowed to the camera with gratitude. After all, she couldn't do the tasting now, and these viewers gave her rewards, which made her feel embarrassed. Ding Dang 20. This is the first time I have rewarded in such a long time, since watching the live broadcast. Sister Fake, make more money, and start tasting as soon as possible. This smell is really delicious. Banana, I also rewarded the anchor, and I will also go to support the post. Let more unlucky people come to the live broadcast room to be tortured. I'm so hungry, I will also support the post. Woo woo woo, you can't let me bear the torture alone. After these people posted the barrage, they cut a small window and ran to support the post that Chris had posted in the food forum before. I'm so hungry as a girl who just started working. Like other people who love to watch food live broadcasts, she is a foodie who loves to eat food. In order to find better food live broadcasts to eat with meals, she also joined a lot of small communication groups. The live broadcast room of Gongzi Farke was an Amway post she saw when she was browsing the food forum. Not only did the host brag about it in the post, but the gourmet monkey brother she followed actually forwarded the post. So she decisively followed this new anchor, and when Ziji reminded her that the anchor had started broadcasting, she hurried to the live broadcast room to find out. At first, she was indifferent. After all, there were many small anchors who made some fancy food to attract attention. But as time went on, the pot of milky white and fragrant fish soup came out of the oven, and she was instantly attacked by the aroma and fell. She was ready to grab a place to taste, but the anchor was unable to start the taste test due to special reasons, which made her very distressed. So in order to ease this pain, she decisively forwarded the post recommending Gongzi Farke to each small group. She wrote hundreds of words to recommend the product with real feelings, as if she had already tasted it. However, there was only saliva in her mouth. Due to everyone's top posts and various reposts, the popularity of Wen Jiu's live broadcast room has risen again. At this time, there are already 300 or 400 people watching in the live broadcast room. It happened that Wen Jiu quickly finished a bowl of fish soup noodles and was preparing to welcome the students who came to the cafeteria to eat. Welcome everyone to my live broadcast room. If you like it, please pay attention. Seeing the popularity gradually rising, Wen Jiu greeted again in a soft voice. Northwest Fox, I came here to read the forum post. When will the anchor start cooking? Sesame Kang Kang same as above. Wait for an anchor to cook. 1 serving of hot and sour potato shreds and 1 serving of fish soup noodles. It was just time for dinner and the students came in one after another. After seeing the new menu of Window 18, each of them placed an order without hesitation. After all, many people in 3047 college now know that the food in Window 18 is the most delicious. After receiving the order from Kyoshi, Wen Jiu immediately tied on his apron and put on a mask and turned on the fire to heat the oil. Now I'm making spicy and sour potato shreds. Audience friends who want to learn can remember the steps. Pour the cut potato shreds into the pot. Wen Jiu skillfully stir-fried the potato shreds in the pot. Then add salt, aged vinegar, chicken essence, sugar and dried chili peppers. At this moment, the people who were singing the bad news almost disappeared because every audience member could smell the spicy aroma emanating from the pot. Except for a few occasional nitpickers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It is reasonable to suspect that the anchor has used some flavor enhancer. Why does it smell so good? Today's second update has been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for the monthly votes, recommendation votes, and collections and check-ins. New little cuties, please remember to collect and vote. PS, I will temporarily resume 2 updates in the next few days. If I successfully advance next week, I will continue to add more updates. So I hope I can advance smoothly. Hehe. I really appreciate the votes and collections from every little angel. This is my first attempt at writing a novel, and I'm really happy to be liked by so many little angels. */*. I wish you all a happy weekend. Keep a happy mood. Chapter 34 Spicy and Sour Shredded Potatoes 3. Wen Jiu glanced at the barrage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This name sounds like a replica of the story of going up the mountain to fight the tiger that she kicked out of the live broadcast room. Everyone has seen the whole process of cooking. When can I add the flavor enhancer? Wen Jiu quickly stir-fried the shredded potatoes and poured them into a plate. After handing it to Kyoshi, he continued, if you want to find fault, can you find some reasonable lines? Brother Monkey, food with flavor enhancers doesn't taste like this. Those who don't understand should stop arguing. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. This person is just a level 1 account. I don't know where he came from. But Wen Jiu didn't have time to pay attention to the nitpickers at this moment. She was still busy working to make money. So she didn't wait for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to speak and kicked him out of the live broadcast room again. Then, one after another, spicy and sour shredded potatoes and one bowl after another of fish soup noodles were constantly handed out from her hands. Hello, I want a portion of spicy and sour shredded potatoes. Kyoshi had just received 2 bowls of fish soup noodles from behind. She felt that the voice sounded familiar. It turned out to be an acquaintance. Minahan was stroking her long golden hair and looking at Kyoshi in the window. Although the 2 of them had fought seriously on the fighting stage today, they were still friendly classmates after class. They smiled at each other. Kyoshi put the hot and sour potato shreds that had just come out of the pot at the window, and Minahan quietly took it and sat in the cafeteria to prepare to eat. She heard her roommate say in the morning that the Cheyenne potatoes at Window 18 were delicious, and she wanted to try them at noon. Unfortunately, something happened and she cancelled her plan, so when it was time for dinner, she decisively ran to Window 18 to place an order. It was just that the Cheyenne potatoes had been taken off the shelves, but Minahan had always liked to eat potatoes, and since she was here, she ordered a portion of hot and sour potato shreds. She had long been tired of traditional boiled potatoes, and she often tried other ways to cook potatoes. But she always felt that the taste was not good enough, and she didn't know if this portion of hot and sour potato shreds could satisfy her. So Minahan picked up the chopsticks and took a bite. The sourness of the aged vinegar and the spiciness of the dried chili peppers bloomed in her taste buds at the same time. The fried soft potato shreds were clearly very refreshing and not sticky. The sour and spicy taste was just right and not choking at all. With the light fragrance of the chopped green onions, it reached a perfect balance in her mouth. The little bee here was filming Minahan's eating. She had delicate features and a pretty face. Although she ate quickly, her movements were elegant. The audience in the live broadcast room were all a little surprised. I'm so hungry. This little sister looks so beautiful, like a doll. Pumpkin Big Guanan, the little girl in charge of sales just now, was also very beautiful. What kind of college is this? There are so many beautiful children. Wen Jiu was concentrating on cooking. She glanced at the barrage casually and was stunned. She clearly remembered that she had set up automatic face blocking, so how could these viewers still see other people's appearances? Wen Jiu quickly fried the pot of shredded potatoes, then clicked on the settings panel of the little bee, and found that the version level of this little bee was too low to support automatic face blocking, and could only block the user's face. She was speechless, but there was no other way for a while, so she could only work first. Sorry, the anchor didn't set up the shielding, and please don't search for irrelevant people who appeared in the camera at will. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Sister Farke, don't worry, we will definitely not spread it casually. Brother Monkey, respect personal privacy. Everyone should not search randomly. Fortunately, the audience understood her very well, and they sent barrages to express that they would not search and disturb others at will. Wen Jiu was relieved, and after a busy period, he ended the business and live broadcast. After returning to the dormitory, Kyoshi went to wash and clean up, and Wen Jiu sat on a chair and began to contact the merchant who rented the equipment before. Jia K119, hello, I want to replace the live broadcast equipment I rented before. The merchant quickly replied to her message. Wang Lei K equipment store, sure, dear, which one do you want to change to? Wen Jiu quickly sent her needs to the merchant. In fact, her requirements were not high. She was mainly afraid of causing trouble to those students who were not aware of the camera, so it was best to cover everyone's face. Wang Lei K equipment store, I received your needs. Would you consider changing to the second generation of Little Bee? It is only 150 star coins more expensive than the first generation you are using now. It is only 150 star coins more expensive. Jia K119, can it be cheaper, boss? Wang Lei K equipment store, dear, this is already the lowest price. The goods in our store are the cheapest in the entire star network. Jia K119, boss, what is the point of doing business? Making friends. If you rent it to me for another 50 yuan cheaper, you will gain a friend like me. If you need me somewhere in the future, you will definitely make more than 50 yuan. Wang Lei K equipment store, dear, it's not that I don't want to lower the price, but this is really the lowest price. If it's any cheaper, we will lose money. Family Wealth 9, boss, the Little Bees have already come out of the 3rd and 4th generations. Your rental price will only drop again and again. It's better to make a friend with me at a lower price now. In this way, you can make money and gain a network of contacts, right? Wang Lei K, who was watching the store, was inexplicably moved by what the customer named Family Wealth 9 said. The other party seemed to have some sense. Family Wealth 9, what do you think, boss? Give me a 50-star discount, and I will pay immediately. Wang Lei K equipment store, here I give you a 20-star coin discount. What do you think? Family Wealth 9, how about this? Let's make up a lucky number and give it a 60-star discount. Wang Lei K equipment store, then it's still 50, you can pay directly. After Wen Jiu and the merchant had a tug-of-war, the other party finally agreed to rent the 2nd generation of Little Bee to her at a price of 500 star coins per month. I hope she can make back her money in the next live broadcast. Wang Lei K equipment store, dear, we will arrange someone to pick up the items at your door, and then we will deliver the 2nd generation of Little Bee you replaced to you. After solving the problem of the live broadcast equipment, Wen Jiu originally wanted to go to the library of 3047 College to look through the biological illustrations before it got dark. As a result, as soon as she went out, she saw her wisdom ring flashing, and she clicked it, and found that it was Lee Kinson who sent her a message. 3047 Lee Kinson, hello, Wen Jiu. There is a student here who is willing to work at window 18. I asked him to report directly to you tomorrow, and you can discuss the specific work and salary with him. Family Wealth 9, okay, thank you Teacher Lee. I don't know which idiot would be willing to stay here as a dishwasher without salary. Wen Jiu replied with good news and continued to walk towards the library. Today's first update, please check it out. Thank you to the little angels who voted for the monthly ticket, recommended ticket and favorited it. Hehe, I'm so happy to see so many little angels like my book. I will continue to write and update in the afternoon. */*. Welcome new little cuties. Remember to favorite and vote. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment. 030. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Pharmacy Lesson 1. The orange sunset covered the sky, and the afterglow of the setting sun lazily sprinkled on the ground, lengthening the reflection behind Wen Jiu. Perhaps it was the approaching winter season, and the temperature would drop a little every day. Wen Jiu had only been in school for a few days, and the coldness was already comparable to the early winter of modern times. I don't know how hard it will be when the winter season comes. A gust of cold wind blew, and Wen Jiu was so cold that he curled his hands in his sleeves and continued to move towards the library shivering. There were no classes in the evening at the 3047 Academy. Students could freely choose to go to the training ground for extra training or to study in the library. However, most people would choose to go to the training ground for extra training, and there were quite a few people who went to the library to read and study. Most of the books in the Interstellar era were presented in electronic form. After Wen Jiu registered at the registration office, he found an empty seat among the rows of tables and chairs and sat down. After entering the student number in the light screen panel in front of him, he could browse the electronic collection provided by the 3047 Academy at will. Wen Jiu quickly found a few biological illustrations and then browsed them quietly. It has to be said that high technology has its benefits. She randomly clicked on a biological illustration book, which mainly recorded various animals that had mutated after entering the interstellar era. Just poke the illustration of a certain animal, and the light screen panel will automatically display a holographic video, so that readers can fully understand the appearance and detailed information of this animal in each period. Wen Jiu read it with relish for a long time, and she didn't leave until the library was about to close. However, her memory is amazing, and she can remember the details of the book after reading it once. So in just a few hours, Wen Jiu remembered all the content she browsed. She also found that, although most of the creatures have mutated due to changes in the times, a small part still retains the characteristics of the ancient Chinese period. For example, the shepherd's person tune buds she found in the kitchen before. These two things are exactly the same as the appearance characteristics of the ancient Chinese period. Even if there are mutated creatures, they will retain one or two original characteristics. For example, the spiny fish, although its body size has increased and spikes have grown on the outside, its essence is still similar to that of crucian carp. There are also grunt beasts, which look basically the same as the previous pigs, with only new features such as fangs and grunting sounds when attacking people. Of course, some new creatures have also appeared, but there are not many records of this part in the illustrations that Wen Jiu browsed tonight, and you have to find a special biological illustration to learn more. After returning to the dormitory, Wen Jiu quickly added another thin blanket to her bed because she was too afraid of the cold. Fortunately, the 3047 Academy has equipped each student with daily necessities and will distribute additional winter supplies later. The next morning, when Kyoshi was still struggling to get up in the quilt, Wen Jiu had already changed into a thick school uniform and was doing daily boxing and martial arts on the balcony. Because of different courses, the two chatted hurriedly and then went to their respective classrooms. Wen Jiu's morning course was herbal identification and configuration. When she saw this course, when she selected the course, she became very interested. So she came to the classroom half an hour before the class started. It was different from what Wen Jiu had imagined. There was a set of strange instruments on each desk, and there were many herbs in the iron plate next to it. She found a seat near the podium and sat down. There were only a few scattered students in the classroom at this time. Wen Jiu looked at the instruments and utensils in front of her curiously. A small part of the utensils were familiar to her, such as beakers and test tubes. But most of the remaining instruments and utensils were unfamiliar to her, so Wen Jiu did not touch them at will, but just sat and looked at them obediently. Not long after, as the class bell rang, a gray-haired and energetic teacher slowly walked into the classroom. What surprised Wen Jiu was that there were only 7 or 8 students who signed up for herbal identification and configuration. The huge classroom was particularly empty at this time. But the teacher did not seem surprised and happily began to introduce himself and give a lecture. Wen Jiu listened carefully to the explanation of the kind old grandfather in front of him. Although the other party spoke slowly, the content was really useful. The logic was clear and the key points were highlighted. So she decisively opened the Ziggy panel and carefully recorded various key points on the recording interface. Next, I will teach you how to make a low-level physical recovery potion. Teacher Yan looked kind. The process is relatively simple. Everyone should carefully write down the steps. Then he demonstrated how to process the herbs and the proportions, and then taught everyone how to use the instruments and utensils step by step. Although there were few students in the classroom, the teacher still maintained a serious teaching attitude. After he successfully completed the production, he asked Wen Jiu and others to start trying to operate it. Wen Jiu first put on gloves for disinfection, and then concentrated on the steps taught by teacher Yan to carry out the actual operation. She first picked up a piece of Q woodgrass with tweezers, and put it on the weighing instrument for weighing. After reaching the number of grams set by teacher Yan, she threw the Q woodgrass into the instrument for grinding into powder. Then she processed the other herbs required in different categories, and then began to prepare. Then Wen Jiu found 2 potion bottles from the utensils. She first put in the processed herb powder and herb juice, in turn according to the formula taught by teacher Yan. After successfully completing the production, Wen Jiu prepared another batch of herbal materials, and prepared the potion again. Teacher Yan walked past Wen Jiu, and saw that she had handled each herb very well, and wanted to move on to the next student. But he suddenly found that the order in which Wen Jiu placed the materials seemed to be disrupted, so he turned his head back and observed Wen Jiu's movements. "Your order is wrong, kid." Teacher Yan frowned and looked at Wen Jiu. "It should be 5 grams of Q grass powder first, and then 1 gram of peng peng mushroom juice." Wen Jiu just nodded, but the order in which she placed the herbs in her hand was still different from what teacher Yan had taught before. She had previously made a bottle of potion according to the order taught by teacher Yan, but during the production process she always felt that the formula could be improved. So she prepared another batch of materials and configured it according to her own ideas. "Hey, kid, what's wrong with you?" Teacher Yan was a little anxious and wanted to stop Wen Jiu from continuing to operate because he found that every step of Wen Jiu was different from what he taught, and he was afraid that Wen Jiu would create an explosion. Especially after Wen Jiu put in the ice grass powder, the light blue liquid in the potion bottle turned dark red in an instant. Teacher Yan was so scared that he snatched the potion bottle from Wen Jiu's hand and said sternly, "Please don't change the configuration order at will, otherwise." Before he finished speaking, the dark red liquid in the potion gradually turned back to light blue, and it was even clearer than the original light blue. Today's second update has been delivered. Thank you to every little angel for the monthly votes, recommendation votes, collections, and check-ins. With your support, I'm full of motivation to write every day. At the same time, welcome new little cuties. Remember to collect it. Maybe you can also vote by the way. // Chapter 36 Pharmacy Lesson 2. Teacher Yan looked at the potion bottle in his hand with surprise. It was filled with a light blue color like the sky, clear and bright. He didn't even need to use an instrument to test it. He could sense that this bottle of low-level physical recovery potion was more perfect than the one he prepared. The fusion of the herbs was excellent, and the purity of the potion was as high as 99%. "How did you do it?" Teacher Yan looked at Wen Jiu with trembling eyes, and he was extremely surprised. "I just changed the order of preparation and the ratio of herbs." Wen Jiu explained his process openly. Ice grass is cold, but most of the herbs used to prepare this potion are warm. If ice grass is added in the middle of the preparation, it will destroy its own coldness, so that the medicinal properties cannot be fully exerted. There are also puff mushrooms and kiwi grass. Although kiwi grass is classified as a warm herb, its leaves have fire properties. After being ground into powder, it will stimulate the fire property in it, which happens to counteract the water property of puff mushrooms. So we swapped the order of the two, and put 1 gram of kiwi between the two to better integrate their medicinal properties. Wen Jiu's explanation was very logical and well reasoned, which surprised teacher Yan. He also thought about trying to improve the formula, but these potion formulas were passed down from generation to generation in the Federation, and it was not easy to find places that could be improved. Unexpectedly, Wen Jiu could find such an improvement method. Although it was just a simple low-level physical recovery potion, the liquid was purer and the medicinal properties were more perfect after the improvement. This shows that Wen Jiu has a very high talent in potion preparation. What's your name? Teacher Yan looked at the well-behaved little girl with great appreciation. She opened her almond-shaped eyes in ignorance, and seemed to be unaware of how much she had contributed. Wen Jiu had never thought of hiding her abilities. She was a dual-element spiritual root of fire and wood, so she had an indescribable intimacy with all plants, and could instantly perceive the special properties of plants. After coming here, she became a dual-element spiritual root of fire and wood, but she was unable to awaken the wood element spiritual root. It was only after she came into contact with the preparation of herbs today that she suddenly felt the energy in her body that contained the wood element spiritual root. In fact, the original formula had already integrated the medicinal properties very well, but Wen Jiu's perception of plants was not comparable to that of ordinary people. So after she prepared the potion according to teacher Yan's formula, she quickly found the small problems in the formula. Wen Jiu, you are a good kid. Teacher Yan couldn't help praising her. The teacher wants to record your formula and use it for experiments. Do you think it's okay? Yes, teacher. Wen Jiu thought for a moment and agreed. Then she added a contact number with teacher Yan, saying that she would wait for the experimental results. If the formula of the low-level physical recovery potion was really improved, her scholarship would be indispensable. Wen Jiu readily agreed. After all, she was short of money, and it would be best to get a scholarship. It was almost noon after class. When Wen Jiu rushed to the cafeteria, Kyoshi had not finished class yet. So Wen Jiu prepared the ingredients for lunch by herself. Because the merchant who rented the equipment had not yet delivered the second generation of bees, Wen Jiu gave up the live broadcast at noon today. She looked through the basket of vegetables delivered at noon. Just like last night, there were spiny fish and white radish. There was only one more plant that looked like mugwort. Wen Jiu had read the biological illustrations yesterday and had a general understanding of the plants and animals in the interstellar era, so she quickly identified that this was a plant called king meng leaf. It has a light fragrance and a bitter taste, and the leaves are oval. Although it looks like mugwort, it cannot be eaten like mugwort. But she clearly remembered that it was recorded in the book as stopping bleeding and relieving pain, so it should be used as a medicinal herb. Unfortunately, king meng leaf also has some ice properties. Although it has good effects, these ice properties are difficult for the human body to absorb, and excessive use will cause numbness. Therefore, king meng leaf was excluded from the herbs used to make medicines. Only some pharmaceutical companies that covet the profits of cheap herbs will purchase king meng leaf as a hemostatic herb. However, these are not a problem for Wen Jiu. In order to collect more herbs, she put the bundle of king meng leaves aside and waited to take it back to the dormitory after the business was over. Wen Jiu was peeling potatoes when she heard a knock on the door. Come in. She thought Kyoshi was done with get out of class, but when she looked up, she saw a young man with a blushing face standing at the door. Zikingayu? The moment she saw Wen Jiu, Zikingayu immediately lowered her head and stared at the ground with a guilty conscience. What do you want? Wen Jiu was a little confused. Could he be here to avenge yesterday? Her thoughts were almost the same as Zikingayu's. Zikingayu felt very ashamed and angry after being defeated by Wen Jiu yesterday. He was actually beaten to tears by Wen Jiu in front of so many people. but he had to admit that Wen Jiu's fighting skills were better than his, and he was completely at the level of beating him. So he thought, knowing yourself and the enemy will lead to victory in every battle. After seeing Wen Jiu's window number 18 recruiting people on the notice of the student department of the 3047 college, Zikingayu immediately contacted the teacher in charge and took over the job. I'm here to report. Zikingayu's voice was weak, and she was completely different from the arrogant kitten before. Unlike what he imagined, Zikingayu thought that Wen Jiu would give him a hard time. As a result, Wen Jiu only raised his eyebrows slightly and said to him, "Oh, then you peel the potatoes first." Zikingayu hesitated in response, walked to Wen Jiu, picked up a peeler, and then held a potato and looked at Wen Jiu. "Why are you looking at me?" Wen Jiu was a little confused, looking at the potatoes. As he said, Wen Jiu began to peel the potatoes again. Zikingayu carefully observed the movements of her hands and clumsily learned to peel the potato skin bit by bit. While he was observing Wen Jiu was actually observing him quietly. To be fair, although he only had a few brief contacts with Zikingayu in class, this kid had no problems, except that he was a little arrogant and face-saving. Overall, he is a good kid. So Wen Jiu patiently peeled potatoes, and only after Zikingayu could peel a potato cleanly in a few seconds did she turn around and knead the dough on the counter. Jiu, I'm here. Kyoshi pushed the door open with a smile. I successfully awakened my superpowers in the class on the use and practice of superpowers today. Congratulate me. As soon as she walked in, she saw the young boy standing there peeling potatoes. The first update of the day has been delivered. Thank you to the little angels who voted for the monthly ticket, recommended ticket, and favorited it. Love you. Heart. New little cuties, remember to favorite and vote. */*. Whispering. The male protagonist should be able to appear this week. Don't worry. The male protagonist will never affect our Wen Jiu's career of making big money. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment. Also, the words I post every day are purely hand-typed, no copy and paste. Cack. My gratitude to everyone is from the bottom of my heart. There are several little angels who vote frequently, and I have remembered your names. */*. Hehe. Chapter 37 Dishwashing Expert. Kyoshi blinked in confusion, not understanding why Zikingayu was also here. Seeing her confused face, Wen Jiu explained at the right time. He will be our worker at window number 18 in the future. After hearing Wen Jiu's explanation, Kyoshi greeted Zikingayu in a friendly manner. But the other party didn't seem to appreciate it. He just snorted awkwardly and lowered his head. However, Kyoshi has always had a good temper. She didn't take Zikingayu's behavior to heart. She just walked to Wen Jiu and whispered, "Is he the new worker? I don't think he is someone who can work." Kyoshi had seen Zikingayu in the fighting class before. She came from a good family, and she could tell at a glance that Zikingayu's outfit was very expensive. In fact, the college does not have a hard and fast rule requiring students to wear school uniforms, so many students from good families choose to wear clothes they buy themselves. It should be. I'll send a message to Teacher Lee later to confirm. Wen Jiu responded, while doing the work at hand. If you don't know how to work, just learn it. You can't come to our place as a young master. Although Wen Jiu didn't know much about brand name clothing, she knew that Zikingayu must be from a good family, otherwise he wouldn't have such a temper, just by looking at the fact that Zikingayu couldn't even peel a potato and his arrogant attitude towards people and things. Since he is peeling potatoes, please help me enter the menu into the panel outside. After Wen Jiu finished speaking, Kyoshi went outside. The work in the kitchen seems not much, but it is actually very heavy. However, Zikingayu has a strong learning ability. He can quickly get started with many jobs after being taught once or twice, so he quickly adapted to working in the kitchen. So when Jiu asked Zikingayu to help him, and Kyoshi was responsible for collecting and delivering orders, the three of them worked in the kitchen in an orderly manner until the end of business at noon. I forgot to tell you, we are hiring dishwashers this time. When Jiu came in with a large box of recycled dishes and placed them in front of Zikingayu, But since this is your first job, we will wash the dishes with you before we leave today. She and Kyoshi quickly and skillfully poured the dishes into the sink and then handed Zikingayu a pair of brand new gloves and a dish towel. But Zikingayu was a little confused when she heard that she had to be a dishwasher. She didn't recover for a while and just stared at the things when Jiu handed over. Put on the gloves. When Jiu saw that he didn't respond and handed them forward again. Let's wash the dishes quickly. We can still take a nap for more than an hour when we go back. After she spoke again, Zikingayu came back to her senses and took the things with trembling hands. They didn't say they were hiring dishwashers, he said, watching when Jiu and Kyoshi start washing dishes. And don't they have dishwasher robots? At worst, there are automatic dishwashers. The turnover hasn't even reached a month yet, so we can't apply for a robot. When Jiu and Kyoshi said in unison that to apply for a robot dedicated to the kitchen, the monthly turnover must meet the target. However, window number 18 has only been open for a few days, so even if the turnover meets the target, it will have to wait until next month. Then can't we buy one ourselves? Zikingayu clenched the dish towel, but was unwilling to take a step towards the sink. Young man, you are still too young. When Jiu glanced at him, if you buy a robot now, and you sit for a while, what will you do with it when you graduate? Besides, do you think I look like someone who can afford a robot? After speaking, Zikingayu looked Wen Jiu up and down, and was silent for a moment. Then he slowly walked towards the sink. The short distance of 1 meter took him 5 or 6 minutes to walk, and he had an inexplicable feeling of being ready to die. Then he stood in front of the sink, thinking for a long time, before he made up his mind to put on gloves, and picked up a bowl full of grease. Zikingayu's face was full of disgust at this time. Hurry up. When Jiu quickly squeezed a dollop of detergent on his dish towel. We have to go back and rest. Impatience can ruin big plans. Zikingayu tried hard to brainwash himself. He had to stay with Wen Jiu and endure the humiliation so that he could defeat her as soon as possible. So he sighed lightly and held his breath, wet the dish towel under the faucet, and then quickly washed the dirty dishes. There is strength in numbers, and a whole box of dirty dishes was washed clean in a short while. Calling, Wen Jiu took off his gloves and apron first, then patted Zikingayu on the shoulder. I didn't expect you to be so adaptable. The sudden praise made Zikingayu forget the painful process of washing dishes just now. He raised his chin proudly and said, of course, don't you see? Before he finished speaking, Wen Jiu patted his shoulder heavily again. In this case, you will be a full-time dishwasher at window 18 in the future. Hearing this, Zikingayu opened his thin lips slightly and was about to say that he didn't want to be a dishwasher. As a result, when Jiu spoke again in that praising tone, I see that your fingers are slender and long, and you can tell at a glance that you are a good dishwasher. I believe that every bowl here will be brand new after passing through your hands. But seeing that Zikingayu was about to speak again, when Jiu waved his hand quickly. Hey, young man. Isn't washing dishes a kind of training? Repeating such boring work every day after day, is a test of one's patience. People who can stick to such boring work will definitely achieve great things in the future. I believe you can stick to it and understand the truth from washing dishes. When Jiu's words brainwashed Kyoshi so much that she almost believed it. She followed Wen Jiu and looked at the silent Zikingayu waiting for a response. Unexpectedly, Zikingayu suddenly laughed 3 times and then lifted her slightly curly brown short hair. This young master will definitely become such a capable person. It's just washing dishes? It's not a big deal. When Jiu patted his shoulder again with a mysterious smile to show encouragement, and then took Kyoshi out of the cafeteria quickly. Damn. He actually believed it? Kyoshi looked back at Zikingayu who was walking at the end in disbelief. The other party seemed to be in a good mood, holding his head high like a kitten that caught a mouse. We were originally looking for a dishwasher. When Jiu pinched his nose nonchalantly, since he's coming, he'll naturally be assigned to do whatever he's assigned to do. What's more, she has to pay this man who looks like a young master, so she has to make sure he does his job well. Let's go back and take a nap. We still have classes in the afternoon. Wen Jiu pulled Kyoshi, who was still looking back at him, and quickened his pace towards the dormitory. The second update today. Thank you all for the monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and favorites. Thank you very much. At the same time, welcome the new cuties. Remember to favorite and vote. 030 PS. This week's plot should be quite interesting. Feel good about yourself. Everyone remember to check the daily updates in time. Chapter 38 Fried Meatballs 1. It seems that the temperature drops a few degrees with each day approaching the cold season. Even the time of darkness is gradually coming earlier. After class, Wen Jiu walked steadily towards the direction of the storage room. The cold wind that blew from time to time made her shiver. In the afternoon, there was another class on the use and practice of superpowers, and the students were still asked to try to awaken their superpowers. She is now proficient in using fire superpowers, and the induction between her and the deep sea blue flame is getting stronger and stronger. If she tries to use the fire superpowers a few more times, she will surely be able to completely activate the deep sea blue flame. It's just that I don't know what's going on with the wood superpower in Wen Jiu's body. Although she can feel it, she has been unable to awaken it. But there is no rush. Students like Wen Jiu who can successfully awaken superpowers on the first day of school are very few. And many of these people have awakened their superpowers with tutoring at home before entering school. For example, Zikingayu. Wen Jiu also specially found Lee Kinson to ask during the afternoon class. After confirming that he was the new part-time student, he added Zikingayu as a friend after class using the wisdom ring. 9. Working hours are 11 o'clock to 1300 hours and 1700 hours to 1900 hours, but you can leave early if you finish work early. Got it. Wen Jiu couldn't help but chuckle when he saw Zikingayu's name. Target? He has ideals and goals. He is a good guy. She first went to the storage room to hand over the first generation of bees to the staff, who came to pick them up, and then took away the second generation of bees she had just rented. When she returned to the cafeteria, Zikingayu and Kyoshi had not arrived yet. So Wen Jiu took out the second generation of bees and started debugging. Because of previous experience, Wen Jiu quickly completed the live broadcast debugging settings this time. After finishing, she went to check the ingredients delivered today. A large piece of gilubis meat and a small bundle of carrots. Wen Jiu thought for a moment, then put the gilubis meat and carrots on the table, and prepared to start processing. But before she started processing, she opened her own live broadcast room. Those who followed her soon received a reminder of the start of the broadcast. Dear user, hello. The anchor you follow Gongzi Fake has started broadcasting. Do you want to go and watch? Brother Monkey had just taken the takeaway from the delivery robot outside the door when he saw this message pop up on the light screen panel he opened. He decisively clicked into the live broadcast room, and the first thing that caught his eye was a huge tearful cat head. Big head, thin body. It looks weird, no matter how you look at it. Brother Monkey, Sister Fake, did you not adjust the size of the obstruction? Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. I also asked why this head is bigger than before. I'm so hungry. Big head. No worries about rain. Many viewers raise the same question as him. Wen Jiu, who was about to start greeting, saw the barrage and immediately summoned the panel to debug it again. It should be ready now. Wen Jiu walked to the sink and washed her hands. Good evening, everyone. I'm the anchor Gongzi Fake. Today I'm going to prepare fried meatballs. After that, she picked up a piece of gilubis meat that was evenly fat and lean. This kind of meat with 40% fat and 60% lean is just right. Let's wash the gilubis meat with clean water first. Perhaps because the number of people in the live broadcast room has increased from more than 10 to more than 100, the number of people who are pessimistic and picky has also increased. Wanzhao, speechless. This anchor really likes to do some fancy things to attract attention. Wanzhao, gilubis meat tastes fishy and astringent. Who would eat it? It's better to feed it with nutrient solution. Wen Jiu watched the man named Wanzhao send several comments criticizing her, and she patiently began to explain. Unprocessed gilubis meat does have a fishy smell, but as long as the smell is removed properly, its meat texture and taste are very suitable for eating. So we throw the washed gilu beast meat into the bowl first. Wen Jiu said as he added things to the bowl of gilu beast meat. Then we put a few slices of ginger and finally pour some rice wine into it to massage the gilu beast meat. I don't know if there is no cooking wine here or the cafeteria is not equipped. Wen Jiu can only make do with rice wine. Pumpkin dagwanan. What is ginger? After seeing the barrage, Wen Jiu remembered that ginger is called horseradish here, so she picked up the ginger piece placed next to it and showed it to everyone. It's horseradish, but everyone calls it ginger in my hometown. Wanzhao, don't waste food. Anchor, gilu beast meat can be boiled in water and added with some salt. It's unbearable to watch it pouring wine and adding horseradish slices. Monkey big brother, exquisite food often goes through many cooking processes. If you don't understand, you can turn off the microphone. Ding dang 20, I agree. The wind rises and clouds come. I don't understand. People are not allowed to speak freely in the live broadcast room. Seeing that these viewers were about to quarrel again, Wen Jiu, who was peeling carrots, immediately stopped them. Stop quarreling. If you are so annoying, suggest that you start a live broadcast. Wen Jiu never likes to argue with others in words. After all, no matter how much you say, it is better to see real kung fu. So she quickly peeled the carrots and then calmed down and picked up the kitchen knife. She held the knife in her left hand and pressed a carrot with her right hand. Thud, thud, thud. As the knife fell, neatly shredded carrots fell under the knife. After cutting, she put the shredded carrots on the chopping board together and cut again. In just a short while, all the carrots were cut into small pieces. In just a short time of cutting vegetables, the number of people who came to watch the live broadcast suddenly soared, and the number of people in the live broadcast room soared to around 300. Banana, oh my god. Big Fox of the Northwest, the anchor has great knife skills. Could he be a chef from a high-end restaurant who hides his name? Okay, just cut the carrot cubes to this extent. Wen Jiu put all the chopped carrots into the basin and took out the marinated gilu beast meat next to it and washed it again. Next, let's start processing the gilu beast meat. Then, Wen Jiu put the gilu beast meat on the chopping board. However, unlike the previous cutting of carrot cubes, she picked up 2 kitchen knives and started working at the same time. The quiet kitchen was full of clanging sounds. While she was chopping the meat, Kaioshishi and Zikingai walked in from outside. However, now there is a setting that automatically blocks the face of all members, so the audience can only see 2 crying cat heads coming out. Wen Jiu took the time to nod and greet them, and Zikingai happened to meet Kaioshishi on the way here. From her, she knew that Wen Jiu was doing a live broadcast, so she didn't say anything to disturb him. She just quietly followed Kaioshishi to peel potatoes. Woohoo, let me share some good news with you all. I have successfully advanced. Thank you to every little angel for your support. Without you, I would not have advanced. 030. I will add 1 chapter today and will continue to add chapters tomorrow, making it 3 chapters a day. 1 chapter is 2k words. I would also like to trouble all the little angels to vote more in the next few days. I'm counting on you all. Bobo Bobo. Oh, I'm so happy. I will give you all a big heart. */*. Tomorrow happens to be my birthday, and I have scheduled an update at 11 AM. When that time comes, everyone can vote for the recommendation and receive a red packet of reading points. Hehe, happy. 030. Chapter 39 Fried Meatballs 2. After chopping it to this extent, you can put it in a bowl and prepare to make minced meat. Wen Jiu used the kitchen knife to scrape all the minced meat on the chopping board into the bowl with 2 brushes. Next, we will add light soy sauce, dark soy sauce, oyster sauce, sugar, and sesame oil, Wen Jiu said, and he also picked up the seasoning bottle to show it again, fearing that some viewers who can't cook would not recognize the seasoning. If everyone has enough materials, you can also add some chopped green onions and mix them evenly to make minced meat. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Sister Fake, how much of each of these seasonings should be put in? Pumpkin dagwanan. I also want to ask. I plan to write it down and try it myself. Wen Jiu stirred the minced meat with chopsticks. After seeing these comments, She wanted to say that the right amount would be enough, but then she thought that the concept of the right amount was too general. So she whispered, "If you are interested, you can click to follow me. I will post the specific method and dosage on my personal dynamics after the broadcast." How can this meat really be eaten after being cooked like this? No one really wants to learn this kind of ridiculous recipe, right? Wind and clouds, it feels like the host wants to increase popularity by hunting for novelty. However, there are only a few people who agree with him. In addition to those who ask about the recipe, there are also many people who are waiting to see what Wen Jiu is doing, commonly known as watching the fun. After Wen Jiu mixed the meat filling, she was too lazy to pay attention to such people who would only jump wildly in the barrage. She turned her head to look at Kyoshi and the other person who were peeling potatoes and asked, "I'm going to make another egg custard. Do you want to eat it?" Although the two did not say anything, they nodded expectantly. "Big brother monkey, is the egg custard the egg custard I know? I had the honor of tasting it at Jasmine restaurant on Kuroman planet before. It was very delicious." How Kuroman is a high-level planet, and this anchor is a poor person from a low-level planet. How can the food she cooks be compared with the dishes of Jasmine restaurant? Seeing that the barrage began to develop in the direction of quarreling again, when Jiu was still calm and composed. There is no end to the band accounts. Only when these people taste what real food is, can they shut up. It's a pity that she doesn't have money to buy ingredients and can't open a tasting. It's better to make money first than to think so much. So when Jiu started to make egg custard, she first took 2 eggs and beat them into a bowl, stirred the egg liquid until there were fine bubbles, and then added half a cup of warm water. At this time, add a spoonful of salt and half a spoonful of light soy sauce for seasoning. Because it was a country egg, Wen Jiu was worried that there would be some egg smell in it when eating, so she poured a little rice wine to remove the fishy smell. There was no plastic wrap available in the kitchen, so she could only stir the egg liquid and cover the bowl with a plate to cover it. Put it in the steamer and steam it in the pot for a while before it can be served. When Jiu estimated the time and brought out 3 bowls of egg custard 10 minutes later. After it comes out of the pot, sprinkle a handful of chopped green onions on it, and finally drizzle a spoonful of light soy sauce on it. The egg custard that just came out of the pot was still steaming hot, and the aroma of chopped green onions was instantly stimulated. She picked up one of the bowls and let the little bee take a close-up shot, and the remaining 2 bowls were taken away by Kyoshi and Zikingayu. The people who were arguing in the live broadcast room were immediately attracted by this bowl of egg custard. The goose yellow egg custard was soft and tender, and looked smooth and delicious, without even a trace of flaws. Then when Jiu scooped up a small piece with a spoon, the soft and elastic egg custard was mixed with a little light brown soy sauce. It looked like just a simple egg, but it aroused the taste buds of all the audience. Kyoshi and Zikingayu then used a spoon to gently scoop a spoonful into their mouths. The goose yellow egg custard tasted soft, tender, and smooth, and combined with the fresh fragrance of chopped green onions, it made people feel extremely satisfied. It was not convenient for the two of them to interrupt Wen Jiu's live broadcast, so they could only give Wen Jiu a thumbs up while swallowing the egg custard. It was also this bowl of egg custard that made Zikingayu realize that it was the right choice to come to work. If he could eat such delicious food every day, it would be worth it for him to wash the dishes. "I'm so hungry, my current state is exactly the same as my name. Banana, help, I can only look but not eat. What kind of human suffering is this?" Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. The method of making this egg custard looks very simple. Can Sister Fake post this on the dynamic after the broadcast? Sure. Egg custard is very simple and easy to make. When Jiu finished the egg custard while it was hot and felt that the coldness on her body was also dissipated a little. It was close to the evening business time of the cafeteria, so she put down the bowl and started to make fried meatballs. How TSK, anyway, I will never eat this kind of junk food, it just looks tempting. Who knows how it tastes? I don't understand. Why do you stay in the live broadcast room and chat if you don't want to eat? You can go pick up garbage and contribute to protecting the environment. More and more people came to watch the live broadcast, and the number of people posting comments gradually increased. The critical comments like "one's ours" were soon drowned out. Now we start making fried meatballs. Wen Jiu showed the mixed meat filling in front of the camera. The meat filling is ready, and the next step is to roll the meat filling into meatballs. 20. Do I need to use any mold? No mold is needed, just a spoon. After saying that, Wen Jiu took out a spoon and scooped out a lump of meat filling from the meat filling and put it in the palm of her hand, and then began her method of making meatballs. She clenched her hands and squeezed, and suddenly a round little ball emerged from the intersection of the tiger's mouth and the thumb. Then she gently scraped with a spoon, and a round little meatball fell on the plate. Of course, if you have enough time, you can also use the hand-rolled meatball method. Wen Jiu's hands moved quickly, and soon she squeezed a full plate of small meatballs. But when she scooped the meat again with a spoon, she scooped much less than before. This time she only scooped out a small lump of meat filling, then put down the spoon and slightly closed her hands, and rubbed it like a ball. After a few seconds, the same round meatball appeared in her palm. But as you all know, I'm a canteen worker. After demonstrating this method, she resumed her previous fast movements again. If you want to be fast enough, this method of hand-rolled meatballs is not very suitable. It was only a short time of explanation, and the audience watched the meat filling in the basin become less and less, while the round meatballs of uniform size on the plate became more and more. Banana. I was watching Sister Fake rubbing meatballs while trying to practice by stroking the cat's head. Pumpkin Dagwanan. Sister Fake's hand speed is too fast. I reasonably suspect that Sister Fake is a big chef with a hidden identity. Today's first update. Thank you little angels for voting for the monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and collections. 030. New little cuties, please remember to collect and vote. Today I will start the first round of park. I hope it will go smoothly. Nagging. Today happens to be my birthday. Hehe. Sending a small red envelope to share the joy with everyone. As long as you vote for the recommendation, you can get it. 030. The number is not large, mainly to thank everyone for their support during this period of time. This is my first time writing an article, and I'm really super happy to receive everyone's love. Open bracket close bracket. Chapter 40 Fried Meatballs 3. Wen Jiu looked at the comments that quickly passed by and smiled slightly. I can't be called a big boss, I'm just an ordinary worker. Then she started to heat the pan and heat the oil, while continuing to explain. Everyone must pay attention to the oil temperature when making fried meatballs. Wen Jiu looked at the small bubbles that began to appear in the oil pan. When it reaches this temperature, you can put the meatballs in. With a faint puff, Wen Jiu took chopsticks and put the meatballs on the plate into the boiling hot oil one by one and started frying. After a while, the oil splashed, and the golden fried meatballs slowly floated from the bottom of the pot, and then floated in the pot, and emitted bursts of fragrance. Wen Jiu picked up the fried meatballs with a colander, and scooped them up, and hung them aside, to filter out the oil. But this salty fragrance tempted everyone watching the live broadcast to salivate. Chris wants to eat 5 bowls. Today was the most severe attack of my gluttony. I lay on the bed and tried desperately to calm myself down. I kept tossing and turning in discomfort. I thought I would be fine after watching the live broadcast, but I saw Sister Fake making delicious food again, but I couldn't eat it. My saliva kept flowing and almost soaked the pillow. I'm so hungry. Meatballs, 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 my meatballs. Sister Fake made so many delicious foods and fried so many meatballs. Why don't I deserve to eat one? I'm going crazy. Many people in the live broadcast room at this moment came for Chris's post. They were originally in the mood to watch the fun, but now they are all going crazy because of their greed. Lemon drinking tea. I heard that this anchor doesn't do tasting. Is it true? Why not do tasting? My tears are burning. My saliva is flowing. I have to eat Sister Fake's fried meatballs to relieve it. Even the person who loves to argue the most stopped sending black comments and sent one instead. Wanzhao, this fragrance. I'm overwhelmed. How did she do it? When Monkey Brother smelled the meaty aroma, he was stunned. If he had to say that he watched Gong Zifake's live broadcast before, it was to see her make delicious food so that he could satisfy his picky nature. Until now, after smelling this irresistible aroma, his eyes flickered, and he whispered in a low voice, vowing that he must eat the fried meatballs of Sister Fake. So when Jiu only saw the reward messages coming in continuously, User Monkey Brother gave the anchor Gong Zifake 10 bouquets of flowers. User Monkey Brother gave the anchor Gong Zifake a car. User Monkey Brother gave the anchor Gong Zifake a small boat of friendship. Congratulations on becoming the anchor's first shipmate. At the same time, many people who wanted Wen Jiu to start tasting quickly gave her awards crazily, which made Wen Jiu a little stunned. Under the bombardment of these gifts, she successfully jumped to the 10th place in the popularity of new anchors in the food area. As a result, the number of viewers coming in is even more endless. When Jiu looked at the crazy refreshing reward messages and felt that in a few days, when it would be time to withdraw the reward star coins, he would probably be able to start the tasting. So she took a bowl of peeled potatoes from Kyoshi with a smile on her face and began to show her superb skills in front of the camera again. The kitchen knife kept rising and falling, and the potato shreds of just the right thickness were clearly spread on the chopping board. Are you sure Wen Jiu is still working in the cafeteria? Shigang stood under the banyan tree with a gloomy face, watching Li Shannan, who was timid in front of him, reporting to him about Wen Jiu. After being beaten by Wen Jiu a few days ago, he was in great pain all over his body. But no matter how he was checked, he said that he had no scars on his body, which made him worry about his life, and went to the medical cabin several times. You know, lying in the medical cabin once is thousands of star coins. Shigang lay in the medical cabin several times, but his injuries were not healed, and he lost a lot of money. He has always been a vindictive person. The excruciating pain he felt last night finally disappeared. I thought Wen Jiu must have been kicked out of the cafeteria by his uncle. This poor guy had no place to work and could only owe tuition fees and eventually be kicked out of school. But now I learned from Li Shannan that Wen Jiu was not only not kicked out of the cafeteria, but he even stayed in the cafeteria and opened a window to do business. Yes. Li Shannan lowered his head, fearing that Shigang would kick him out of the job if he was unhappy. He still owed tuition fees to the school. If he was kicked out, he would have no place to work. Hearing this, Shigang touched his chin, then snorted coldly and called the two followers behind him to come closer. Then let's go and see what kind of trouble she can stir up. Although Shigang admitted that Wen Jiu was very good at fighting, it was not easy to run a window, so he had a mocking look in his eyes. Even if the business fails, you still have to leave the cafeteria. After saying that, he put his hands in his trouser pockets, held his head high, and walked to the cafeteria with Li Shannan and others. It happened to be the dinner time in the cafeteria at night, and the students who came to eat were crowded. Shigang strode into the cafeteria and looked at Li Shannan next to him. Brother Gang, window number 18. After learning the information, Shigang began to search for the location of window number 18 in the cafeteria. Unlike the window number 3 he managed, window number 18 was very inconspicuous and was located at the end of a row of windows. Seeing this scene, Shigang couldn't help but put on a mocking smile. You know, his window number 3 is the best location in the cafeteria, and you can find it as soon as you enter the door. It's not like window number 18, which requires a careful search before you can see it. But what Shigang didn't understand was why there was a long queue in front of window number 18. The queue was so long that it reached the entrance of the cafeteria, and there were even a steady stream of students running to line up here. He walked to the front of window number 18 and knocked on the glass window. A well-behaved little girl looked up and smiled sweetly at him. Hello, classmate. Today's dishes include spicy and sour potato shreds and fried meatballs. Shigang looked closely and found that the little girl who was receiving the reception was not Wen Jiu. He was about to turn around and leave when he heard the familiar crisp voice. Shishi, 3 servings of fried meatballs. He looked inside the window and immediately met eyes with Wen Jiu, who handed over the plate. Wen Jiu's grey blue eyes made him unforgettable for the rest of his life. It was this seemingly gentle and well-behaved person who pressed him in the office and beat him mercilessly. However, when he saw Wen Jiu also recognized him. Wen Jiu's lips hidden in the mask were slightly curved. She squinted her eyes, raised her little hand, and made a gesture of wiping her neck towards Shigang. Shigang immediately felt the sense of danger again, but he knew the rules of 3047 Academy, and was sure that Wen Jiu could not take action directly in public, unless she wanted to be expelled from the academy. So he immediately regained his composure, and raised his left hand, to lean on the handrail in front of the window. Give me 4 servings of those fried meatballs. Hurrah! Today's second update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and favorites. 030. New little cuties, please remember to favorite it. It's the best to be able to vote. ****. The third update will be posted around 7 PM. I'm confused by the mechanism of sending red envelopes. I just tried to send a wave, but they were all snatched up for no apparent reason. I feel so sad that I sent out 30 red envelopes, and I can't send them on iOS, so I called my friend to help me send them, but they were all snatched up within a second. Woohoo, little angels, don't blame me, let me study the mechanism of sending red envelopes more carefully. ORZ. Chapter 41 Fried Meatballs 4. Shigang proudly made a provocative gesture towards Wen Jiu. He wanted to see what Wen Jiu could do to him. But Wen Jiu ignored him and turned around to continue cooking. Instead, the little girl who looked very kind and sweet said crisply, "I'm sorry, we don't allow queue jumping here. Please go to the back to queue first." After she finished speaking, she made a gesture of invitation, which made Shigang very unhappy. So he slapped the handrail, wanting to let this little girl know how dangerous the college is. As a result, the person behind him suddenly grabbed his wrist and pulled him outside. Is there really someone who comes to the cafeteria to eat without knowing how to queue? Shigang turned around and saw only a little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. He didn't understand why all these new kids were so ignorant. He patiently squatted down, looked at the other party and said, "Little sister, let your brother buy first. I will buy you whatever you want to eat." Unexpectedly, the other party sneered, "You are worthy of being my brother?" Minahan hated this kind of pretentious boys the most. She rolled her eyes and ignored the greasy big guy in front of her. 1 serving of spicy and sour potato shreds. She leaned over the window and looked at Kaioshishi inside. The two smiled at each other. After Kaioshishi confirmed Minahan's menu, she said to Wen Jiu, "Jiu, 1 serving of spicy and sour potato shreds, and more vinegar." Even Shigang had to abide by the rules of the college, so he could only hold back his anger and continue to threaten the people behind Minahan. Unexpectedly, none of the people in the queue were willing to give him face, and they all said that he should go to the end of the line and queue up by himself. Even if he said that he could pay to change seats, no one was willing. So Shigang could only take Li Shan'an and the others to the end of the line reluctantly. They waited for nearly an hour before it was their turn, and the hot and sour potato shreds were sold out, leaving only the fried meatballs. Kaioshishi looked at them with a sweet smile, as if she had never seen Shigang before. "Hello, classmate, what would you like to eat?" Shigang did not speak aggressively this time. He gestured to Li Shan'an behind him and asked him to come forward and talk to Kaioshishi. 4 servings of fried meatballs. Li Shan'an pursed his lips and did not dare to look up at the window. They were all waiting for Kaioshishi to serve the fried meatballs, but they did not expect Kaioshishi to still smile and say, "Sorry, we don't sell fried meatballs here." After that, Shigang and the others, except Li Shan'an, all stared at Kaioshishi with a vicious look. But they didn't dare to do it here. Shigang could only pat the handrail again. "I just heard Wen Jiu say that there are still 20 fried meatballs. Why are there no more here?" "Really? But we don't sell fried meatballs here." Kaioshishi blinked, her round almond eyes full of innocence. "We only have oil and meatballs here." Shigang breathed a sigh of relief and then said fiercely, "Then if you use oil to fry meatballs, it's fried meatballs, right?" "Oh, I know." Kaioshishi made an exaggerated sighing expression. "You are talking about the question's bouncy and delicious meatballs that are so delicious that they take off on the spot and explode." The air froze for a while, and Shigang and others stood outside the window in a daze. However, Kyoshi still had that ignorant and well-behaved smile, and only when Jiu pursed his lips to hold back his smile when frying meatballs. Yes, that's it. Shigang rolled his eyes in his heart. So the fried meatballs at your window are called. We don't sell fried meatballs at our window. Kyoshi said again with confidence, and her smiling face made Shigang feel very upset. Anyway, the dish you just mentioned is meatballs fried in oil, right? He clenched his fists to hold back his anger. Yes. Kyoshi answered him quickly. Seeing her annoying smile, Shigang's tone of voice became more vicious. Then give us 4 servings of that. 4 servings of what? Kyoshi blinked and pretended to be innocent. Please tell us the name of the dish. Otherwise I'm afraid of reporting the wrong order. Shigang couldn't hold back his anger anymore and summoned a gust of wind on his hand. It's the questions bouncing something meatball. Please read out the name of the dish. Although Kyoshi stayed in the window, she could clearly see Shigang's actions from her perspective, so she put her hands behind her back and gestured to Wen Jiu. If Shigang dared to attack, Wen Jiu would ruthlessly fight back. However, unexpectedly, Shigang actually retracted the fierce wind, and he gritted his teeth and said, questions bouncy and delicious. As he spoke, Kyoshi stared at him with encouraging eyes. Delicious to the point of taking off. Delicious to the point of exploding small meatballs. Okay. Kyoshi saw him struggling to say the name of the dish, turned her head, and quickly said to Wen Jiu, 4 servings of fried meatballs. Although her voice was small, it was just enough for Shigang to hear clearly. He clenched his fists and tried to calm down his anger. However, at this point, Shigang could not give up his plan to make trouble, so he put on his previous arrogant look and walked to an empty seat to sit down, waiting for his followers to bring the dishes. On the other side, Wen Jiu smiled with curved eyebrows and quickly poured the previously fried meatballs into the pot again and fried them again. This step can make the meatballs less greasy. Friends who don't like to eat oily food can learn from me. Pumpkin Big Melon Nan. I feel like I can learn a lot from Sister Farke, taking notes like crazy. I'm so hungry. I just heard Sister Farke's friend talking. That questions bouncing thing is too funny. She's right. The meatballs I made are indeed questions bouncing and delicious to the point of taking off on the spot. Wen Jiu praised herself generously. After all, in her heart, there are very few people who can cook better than her. Ding dang 20. It's not delicious if we don't eat it. Sister Farke, please start tasting as soon as possible. Your live broadcast room is almost a place for people to smell the food while eating. A Big Wolf 33. Don't say it. I came late today and thought I wouldn't be tempted, but now I haven't stopped drooling. Wen Jiu scooped up the meatballs from the bubbling hot oil. The golden and crispy meatballs were magnified by the close-up shot, making the audience in the live broadcast room even more greedy. However, no matter how greedy they were, they couldn't eat them and could only cry in the barrage. Kyoshi took the plates handed over by Wen Jiu and handed them to Li Shan'an, who was waiting at the window. The other party didn't dare to say much to her. He took the plates and ran to Shigang. It's estimated that the business will be closed in 10 minutes. Zikingayu, remember to go outside and bring in the recycling bin. Zikingayu, who had been standing by and arranging plates and bowls for a long time, nodded. He has now accepted his identity as a dishwasher. The 3 of them were busy again in an orderly manner until a shout was heard from outside. What's the matter with the food in window number 18? There are actually gravel. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Fried Meatballs 5. Hearing the sound, all the students who were sitting quietly in the cafeteria looked towards the source of the sound. One of Shigang's followers was standing on his seat. He raised his chopsticks to pick up an unknown object and shouted in a hoarse voice, "Everyone come and see. I can find stones here. The hygiene of your window number 18 is worrying." Wen Jiu also leaned on the window to look at them and saw Shigang staring at her with a confident expression. The two looked at each other for a moment, and Wen Jiu walked out of the kitchen quickly. What happened? She was obviously pretending to be confused. Of course she knew that Shigang and his friends were here to deliberately make trouble. However, it is against the regulations of 3047 college to fight casually in public, so Wen Jiu stood not far from Shigang's table with a calm face. TSK, my brother found a few broken stones in your food. Shigang sat with his legs crossed. Let's solve it, but according to the college regulations, you have to pay for unqualified hygiene. This was his idea before he came. He had already found out about Wen Jiu's background. He was a poor orphan with no power or influence. If he had to pay compensation according to the academy's regulations, he would have to pay at least a few thousand star coins. Oh, is this what your brother ate? Wen Jiu walked closer and saw the gravel scattered on the plate. Coincidentally, it would have been fine if there were gravel in one plate, but there were gravel in all 4 plates. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that they did it on purpose. Of course not. Shigang picked up one of the stones with chopsticks and said to Wen Jiu with a smile, look, if such a big stone is swallowed by us, you will be in big trouble today. However, Wen Jiu just smiled and asked him, why don't you swallow it? Hearing this, Shigang slapped the table, and the gravel bounced up and fell down instantly. He said loudly and heroically, okay, you not only don't solve the problem, but you are also cursing us here? I didn't say I wouldn't solve the problem. Wen Jiu blinked, picked up a gravel with his hand, and looked at it. This is red gravel used for road construction. It's strange. How can something used for road construction appear in the kitchen? She smiled and supported her face with one hand, and sat opposite Shigang. Shigang was stunned for a moment. He didn't expect Wen Jiu to recognize this kind of stone. He just ordered his followers to pick it up casually. Unfortunately, he didn't expect that Wen Jiu would recognize it. When she was picking up garbage, she learned to identify a lot of things in order to make more money. The remaining stones and waste materials from road construction can be seen everywhere in the garbage dump. But Shigang still maintained his calmness on the surface and said jokingly, I don't know where this came from. Since you are so familiar with this thing, you must have put it in the food, right? As soon as he finished speaking, the follower next to him added, you can't treat us like this, just because of some misunderstandings with our brother gang. After hearing this, some students who didn't know the truth looked at Wen Jiu frequently, as if she was a big villain. If it is really a hygiene problem, then let the person in charge apologize and pay the money. I think so too. Although the food at window 18 is delicious, the hygiene problem is absolutely intolerable. Don't you think it's strange that there are so many people queuing at window 18 every day? A newly opened window has such a high popularity after only a few days of operation. When Jiu listened to the whispering voices around him and remained very calm. She looked at Shigang, who was holding his head high in front of her, and suddenly laughed out loud. I know you have big nostrils, so stop holding your head high. Hearing this, Shigang was so angry that his face twitched. He put his head back to the right position and sneered, solve it quickly, pay money and apologize, and I won't tell the teacher about this. That's right, you don't want to pay the money? Maybe you can't afford it. Shigang's 2 followers sang in unison, wanting to see Wen Jiu embarrassed. They felt very uncomfortable when they were beaten by Wen Jiu at the beginning, and now they can finally get some ground back, so they naturally work hard to fight back. Unfortunately, Wen Jiu was still calm and composed, sitting with his back straight and facing Shigang. Are you sure these are gravel you ate? She asked again. What else? Could it be that I put it there? Shigang snorted confidently. Don't try to delay time. Even if teacher Yu comes, you will have to pay and apologize. He thought Wen Jiu was so calm because he had Yu Rumen as his backer. After all, Yu Rumen had helped Wen Jiu solve several problems before. Little did he know that Wen Jiu had never thought of finding someone else to solve this matter. Let's put it this way. If this gravel is really made by you guys, I will apologize and pay the money immediately. Wen Jiu lowered her eyes, and people could not see her emotions. According to the regulations of the academy, if I remember correctly, it should be 3,000 star coins. Shigang grinned. It's 3,000 star coins. Don't say any more nonsense. Just pay the money. But what if this is not a gravel you ate? She suddenly raised her head, her grey blue eyes staring coldly at the person in front of her. It was this murderous look again, which made Shigang a little chilled. But he never thought of backing down, so he continued to shout, if this is not the case, then I will pay you double the money. Even if it was a trap set by a few of them, he was sure that Wen Jiu would not be able to find any evidence. There was no surveillance in the cafeteria, and no one could come out to testify. So he was sure to win this time, and Wen Jiu had to apologize and pay him money. Okay, remember what you said. Wen Jiu stood up suddenly, with a sarcastic smile on her lips. She stretched out her slender knuckles, revealing the wisdom ring that the school gave to every freshman. What are you trying to do? Are you looking for teacher you support? Shigang was confused as he looked at her actions. The rules set by the college are useless, even if you find teacher you. Hearing his words, the students who were watching the excitement also began to chatter. I've known for a long time that there are many people with connections in the student department of the cafeteria, but I didn't expect that people with connections would be so arrogant. But Shigang is also a person with connections. Isn't his uncle one of the management teachers of the cafeteria? But the college's regulations are that if there is a problem with hygiene, you have to pay compensation and apologize. Look, she is so arrogant that she wants to call the teacher. At this time, Kyoshi and Zikingai also came out of the kitchen. After hearing the gossip, they frowned and walked to Wen Jiu to express their position. Wen Jiu listened to the gossip. Not only did he not get angry, but his smile became even bigger. Student Shigang, I hope you don't regret what you said. Today's first update, woohoo. Thank you to every little angel for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and clicks on the collection. CAC. Please vote if you have votes in the next 2 days, and if you don't have votes, just check in or comment. The first round of Park is in the next 2 days. I hope I can pass it smoothly. ORZ, I hope the new little cuties can click on the collection to vote, and if you don't have votes, just check in. Thank you so much for your support. 030 Thanks to reader Irene for the tip. Open bracket close bracket. Chapter 43, The Life of Setting Up Stalls in the Star Network World 1. Shigang and his friends were all confused when they heard this. Only Kyoshi and Zikingai seemed to have thought of something. They looked at each other in tacit understanding without saying anything. I said to pay the money, so stop playing tricks. Shigang shouted and stood up, looking at the little girl who was a head shorter than him. Just when everyone thought that Wen Jiu had to apologize and pay the money, she suddenly raised her finger and pointed at the light screen panel of Ziji. Wen Jiu quickly adjusted the live broadcast interface, called out a video, and then turned it into holographic projection mode, projecting the video in the cafeteria so that everyone could see it clearly. Everyone looked at this holographic projection in confusion. Only Shigang and his friends became a little flustered. The projection was playing the scene of Shigang and his friends eating. After Li Shan'an walked to Shigang with a plate and sat down, they began to discuss in a low voice. TSK, this smells quite fragrant. Shigang picked up a meatball casually and looked at the gravy that was about to drip from it. Because of the cover of the crying cat's head, everyone could only see him eating the meatballs, and the other three did the same. So far, there was nothing wrong. So Shigang and the others returned to their confident attitude until a new scene appeared. Is this really food that can be made by humans? One of Shigang's followers exclaimed. It's so delicious, boss. Stop talking nonsense and get to work. Shigang punched the exclamatory follower on the head. In fact, he also thought that the fried meatballs were too delicious. If it wasn't for the purpose of ruining Wen Jiu's business and driving her away, he really wanted to continue sitting and eat this plate of meatballs cleanly without leaving any oil or water. With Shigang's harsh rebuke, several people could only break away from the state of being obsessed with food. One of the followers first looked around with a sly look, and when he saw that no one was paying attention to them, he carefully took out a handful of gravel from his pocket and handed it to Shigang. After Shigang received the gravel, he first sprinkled a few gravel on the plate in front of him, and then sprinkled gravel on the plates of the other three people, as if he was afraid that others would not see it. After preparing the things, what happened next was what they saw later. One of the followers stood up suddenly and shouted, saying that he had eaten gravel and wanted Wen Jiu to come out and give an explanation. With a ding, the video ended. The onlookers who had been talking loudly before had shut up and stopped talking nonsense. There were also a few students who felt sorry and whispered to apologize to Wen Jiu. After Wen Jiu nodded slightly, he looked at Shigang in front of him coldly. "Didn't you say that if you didn't eat it, you would pay twice the money?" Her grey blue eyes were full of sarcasm. "Transfer it to my account now." Shigang looked at the person in front of him in disbelief. He couldn't understand why Wen Jiu had the video as evidence. You did it on purpose." His voice was a little trembling. "Are you kidding me?" However, Wen Jiu just blinked innocently. "I don't know why you put gravel in the food. You won't say that I forced you to do this, right? Everyone heard it just now. Hurry up and pay me back." Kyoshi took 2 steps forward and slapped the table like Shigang did before, but this behavior was a great mockery to Shigang. But now the evidence is conclusive, and he is suppressed, and has no way to turn over. Wen Jiu spoke again. "Hurry up, we are in a hurry to finish the work." Zikingai next to him also added a knife. "Can't you afford it?" Shigang was so angry that he dared not say anything. If it was private, he could run away immediately, but now so many students were watching. He could only use the wisdom ring to point out his light screen panel and said with a hard face, "Who said I can't afford it? It's just 6,000 star coins." Wen Jiu smiled and opened his account interface and successfully deposited 6,000 star coins into his account. "Goodbye." After confirming the receipt, Wen Jiu took Kyoshi and Zikingai back to the kitchen, completely ignoring the gloomy Shigang behind him. However, Shigang had lost face so much today and was unwilling to stay and let others watch the show, so he left the cafeteria angrily. Because all the students went to watch the show, the original long queue had already dissipated and only a few scattered people were still waiting. The 3 of them quickly sold the remaining fried meatballs and then let Zikingai carry the recycling bin outside in. Zikingai washed dishes much faster at night than at noon. Before Wen Jiu and Kyoshi wiped the kitchen grease clean, he washed all the dishes and chopsticks clean. After finishing, Zikingai left the cafeteria first, saying that he was going to the training ground for extra practice. Wen Jiu and Kyoshi walked slowly back to the dormitory. "I'm dying of laughter. Did you see Shigang's face when he left? It was almost as pale as pig liver." Kyoshi joked while changing clothes. "Speaking of which, when did you record the video? I was afraid that you couldn't solve their trouble. I noticed it when they came." Wen Jiu sat on the bed and changed his sneakers. "People like this are obviously here to make trouble. We must be more careful." After Shigang and his friends bought fried meatballs, Wen Jiu turned off the live broadcast and then calmly controlled the little bee to turn on the video mode, hiding in the corner to record their series of actions. She originally just wanted to be on the safe side, but she didn't expect it to come in handy. What she didn't expect was that she successfully harvested a sum of star coins. Wen Jiu collapsed on the bed and began to think seriously about what she could do with this star coin. As the saying goes, money makes money. Money will not grow naturally if it is left there. She has to think about it carefully. So she opened the wisdom ring and clicked on the light screen panel. First visited the gold panning shop and selected some of the ingredients that she thought were cheap before and added them to the shopping cart. Then, in the spirit of saving as much as possible, she collected all the coupons she should collect and then she happily placed an order. After buying the ingredients, she still had more than 5,000 star coins left. Wen Jiu pondered for a moment and felt that her plan to set up a street stall in the Star Network world could be put on the agenda. So she searched for the detailed process of setting up a stall in the Star Network world. First, you have to bind your personal real name information, then select the area where you can set up a stall, and finally pay the fee. Her household registration information had long been removed from the black household under Uruman's operation, and she became an orphan adopted by the 3047 Academy. After Wen Jiu entered the information, she began to choose her own stall area. To make money, of course you have to choose a Feng Shui treasure land with a good view and high popularity. She thought the Starlight Night Market she went to with Kyoshi last time was very good. Although there is more than one market in the Star Network world, when she went to the Starlight Night Market last time, she felt that there must be huge business opportunities here. So when Jiu decisively started to choose from the floor plan of the Starlight Night Market, these divided stall areas were labeled with various data, such as the flow of people and the competitiveness of surrounding stalls. After looking for a while, she finally chose a location with a suitable price and good flow of people, and paid the fee. Then she just had to enter the Star Network world to set up the stall. Today's second update has been delivered. Please sign for it. The third update will be sent out around this afternoon. Thank you for the support of every little angel. Thank you everyone. I ask everyone to vote more in the next few days. If you don't have a vote, you can check in or comment. 030 new little cuties, remember to collect it. It would be best if you can vote. Even if you don't have a vote, remember to check in or comment. Thank you so much everyone. I will work hard to speed up the update. Chapter 44, The Life of Setting Up Stalls in the Star Network World 2. While it was still early for bedtime, when Jiu entered the Star Network world to check out the market, as a white light lit up, when she opened her eyes again, she came from the dormitory with only 2 people to the crowded Starlight Night Market. It was still so bustling here. When Jiu raised her hand and looked at it, it was still the same pair of hard iron hands covered with calluses. She had to make do with 5,000 star coins to change the Star Network image. Then she clicked on the smart navigation, followed the green footprints on the ground, and strode through the crowded crowd. Perhaps because she had become a burly, fierce-looking rough man, those who had been bargaining with the vendors in the middle of the road unconsciously made way when they saw her coming. So when Jiu quickly found the stall she rented in the winding stall area, it was similar to what was shown on the floor plan, about 1.5 square meters. It was the smallest type of stall available for rent in the Starlight Night Market. She looked around. On the left was a middle-aged man dozing off in a chair. He had a layer of oil paper casually placed under his feet, which was filled with all kinds of bottles and jars. It was unknown what he was selling. Although the right side showed that it was rented, no one was setting up a stall there. The Starlight Night Market is considered a large-scale market in the Star Network world. Not only did it hire security personnel to patrol, but it also had special cleaning robots to clean the roads. So the area rented by Wen Jiu was quite clean. You have to prepare everything you need to set up a stall yourself, but she didn't rush to the gold panning shop to buy items. Instead, she continued to stroll around the Starlight Night Market. There is everything here, whether it is weapons, potions, food and jewelry, or pets, furniture, strange props. As long as you want to buy, there is nothing that is not sold here. However, the food here can only be regarded as dark cuisine. When Jiu felt complicated just looking at the sweet potatoes that were roasted into charcoal. The vendor selling roasted sweet potatoes kept shouting enthusiastically, "This sweet potato is not delicious if it is not burnt. Ours is authentic burnt sweet potato. You can't find anything better than ours in the Starlight Night Market." When Jiu reluctantly smiled back and turned away. Then, she wandered to a fortune-telling stall. A mysterious woman wrapped in a red cloak sat in front of an antique wooden table. Her hands with bright red nails gently stroked the deep purple crystal ball. Stars were faintly visible in the crystal ball. She raised her chin slightly, revealing a sickly white color from the shadows, which formed a sharp contrast with her delicate red lips. "Great God Sulame, in the name of your most loyal believer, please look after this poor man in front of you." Although Wen Jiu had often seen witches using crystal balls for divination in online videos before, this was the first time she had seen a real person. So she stopped and watched the other person's operation with interest. "The great God Sulame is about to come, poor man, may God forgive your soul." After the words fell, the faint light of the crystal ball suddenly became as bright as a lamp, illuminating the charming face of the woman. She stood up and walked out, twisting her slender waist, until she walked in front of Wen Jiu, gently hooked Wen Jiu's chin with her fingertips, stared at Wen Jiu with her green eyes, and exhaled like orchid. "Sir, the great God Sulame ordered me to save your soul, trapped in the quagmire." Wen Jiu She looked at this beautiful woman who kept throwing seductive eyes at her, and she just felt a little funny. Good guy, there are people who cheat money everywhere. But Wen Jiu didn't leave immediately. After all, she was happy to appreciate beauty. So she put her arms around him, lowered her head and moved closer, and tried to lower her voice. Oh. Zhuang Rudi had seen many people who coveted her beauty, but the man in front of her seemed to be hugging her waist, but in fact his arm was just hanging in the air a little further away, and did not touch her. This surprised her a little. But it didn't matter, since she was hooked. She couldn't think of taking her wallet away. So Zhuang Rudi smiled coquettishly, turned around and broke away from Wen Jiu's embrace, and gently hooked her finger, motioning for him to follow her. As she expected, this burly man with muscles followed her. She floated back to the stall like a butterfly, and sat down face to face with Wen Jiu. Sir, according to the will of the god Sulame, you are now worried about your livelihood, and are at a loss about the future. Wen Jiu looked at the charming woman in front of him, and nodded in agreement. Seeing her nod, Zhuang Rudi pursed her lips and smiled, then turned into a mysterious fairy posture that was sometimes close and sometimes far away, and said coldly, from the decree sent by the god Sulame, it can be seen that you often hang out in bloody places, and your life may be in danger in the future. Hearing this, Wen Jiu suppressed her smile in her heart. If she was still observing whether this woman really had some skills before, then now she could confirm that the other party was here to cheat money. However, she still cooperated with Zhuang Rudi, slammed the table hard, and pretended to be a villain, and said in a rough voice, "Little girl, don't talk nonsense. My son Badeo's knife has no eyes." However, Zhuang Rudi maintained a faint smile, stretched out a soft hand, and waved it on the crystal ball, and the ball showed white mist mixed with blood red. May the god of Sulame forgive your rudeness. The god has sent down a decree to me to save your poor soul, but I didn't expect you to do this. It's really a waste of God's kindness. If you don't believe it, you can leave now, but no one can resolve your blood disaster. Wen Jiu lowered her head and pursed her lips, afraid that she would laugh out loud. This is an old trick in the world. I see that your forehead is black, and you may have a blood disaster. Seeing that she didn't say anything, Zhuang Rudi waved her sleeves again, and a bloody picture appeared faintly in the crystal ball. It was a scene where Wen Jiu, the image of the Star Network, was pierced to death by thousands of arrows, but it disappeared in just a few seconds. As long as you sincerely offer sacrifices to the god of Sulame, the god will redeem your tragic fate. Zhuang Rudi waited patiently. Generally, at this point, those people would panic and ask her for help. After all, the fat sheep she targeted were carefully selected, that is, Wen Jiu, a lustful person who looked like he had a bad heart. In addition to being lustful, this kind of people usually have bad tempers and cannot stand being seduced or provoked. Most of them have done evil things in real life. As long as she comes to them like a goddess to help them, she can squeeze out a lot of money. So Zhuang Rudi was not in a hurry at all. She stared at Wen Jiu, who was showing a tangled look in front of her, with a charming look, and was very satisfied in her heart. Poor man, just make an offering to my god, and the god will send down a divine prophecy to save you. She spoke slowly, and in a compassionate tone. What she was thinking in her heart was that she could make a lot of money today. Thank you so much, beautiful lady. After saying that, Wen Jiu stood up, and patted his buttocks, and turned away without even looking at Zhuang Rudi. Zhuang Rudi, who was planning how to make money, was stunned. Today's third update has been delivered. Thank you to all the little angels for the monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and clicks collections. 030. Super thank you. New little cuties, remember to collect it. It would be best if you can vote. If you don't have votes, you can check in or leave a comment. I calculated that the male lead will appear tomorrow. I'm so surprised that it took almost 100,000 words to release the male lead. ***. Chapter 45 Fortune Teller Son Badeo 1. Foolish man, aren't you afraid of ending up like that? You can meet me today because the kind god Sulame is willing to redeem your miserable life, but you don't cherish the opportunity? Wen Jiu deliberately slowed down her pace just to see if the woman who tried to cheat money would catch up with her. As she expected, the other party really walked a few steps from the stall and spoke in her direction. When Jiu's patience was almost over, she turned around and walked in front of Zhuang Rudi, looking down at her. What do you want to do? Seeing this situation, Zhuang Rudi immediately prepared a defensive posture. If Wen Jiu dared to make a move, she would immediately fight back and call security personnel. Unexpectedly, Wen Jiu just whispered in her ear, "Beauty, I see that your forehead is sunken, narrow and slightly black, which may cause unexpected disasters. There are scabs on your chin, which should have been bumped recently. Be careful not to lose money." After speaking, Wen Jiu ignored Zhuang Rudi's gloomy face and left here quickly. It seems that the Starlight Night Market is really all-encompassing. Even fortune-telling stalls can be opened. In this case, can't she open a fortune-telling stall? After Wen Jiu returned to the stall area she rented, she decisively began to search for regulations on stalls. She originally wanted to set up a food stall, but the Star Network world has regulations that, whether it is a stall selling food or a store, you need to go to the relevant departments to apply for a series of certificates such as health certificates and food safety certificates. This process is really troublesome. Fortunately, there are no complicated regulations for other stalls, especially fortune-telling stalls. You can apply for certificates by submitting your Star Network account information. Wen Jiu quickly applied for the stall certificate and searched for various items she needed in the gold panning shop. Although she received 6,000 star coins from Shigang, after deducting the previous food costs and stall fees, she only had more than 2,000 star coins left. Poverty made Wen Jiu sober. She patiently searched and bought the cheapest tables and chairs, the cheapest copper coins, yellow paper that could be discounted by bundles, and cinnabar that could be bought one and get one free by kilograms, etc. Because they are used in the Star Network world, these things immediately appeared in Wen Jiu's personal belongings. After placing an order, she only needed to gently drag them from the light screen panel to take them out. After Wen Jiu arranged the tables and chairs she bought, she took out the set of brushes, ink, paper and inkstones that were sold at a discount. There was no way. In the Interstellar era, few people used pens to write on paper, let alone writing with brushes. These brushes, ink, paper and inkstones were just imitations of ancient Chinese ones and had no collection value. Therefore, they were only worthy of being sold as decorations, and they had to rely on discounts to sell a few sets. Wen Jiu sighed in her heart. She didn't expect that so many things from ancient China had been lost in this era. After spreading the rice paper flat on the table, she patiently ground ink on the inkstone. Keeping the ink stick flat, she spun it lightly and slowly. Then, Wen Jiu put down the ink stick and picked up the brush next to it, dipped it lightly in thick ink, and wrote 7 words in a fluent manner. After the fortune teller Sun Badao finished writing, she waited for the ink to dry before hanging the calligraphy in front of the wooden table. The handwriting was elegant and graceful, with a sense of pride. Passers-by frequently looked at her, but no one dared to ask. It was mainly because of Wen Jiu's majestic and domineering appearance with eyes like copper bells. Even if someone was curious, they were scared away by her appearance. So Wen Jiu could only sit in front of the wooden table board and took out yellow paper to start drawing some talismans. The spiritual roots in her body have been transformed into supernatural powers. Although she cannot master the use of the fire and wood dual system supernatural powers, it is still no problem to brew some spiritual power from them to draw talismans. Wen Jiu drew a talisman to ward off evil spirits with a big stroke of the brush. After finishing the drawing, she looked at the red mark on the yellow paper with a faint spiritual power and was very satisfied. She is indeed a little genius. No difficulty can stop the little genius from making money. After she folded the talisman, she was ready to continue drawing talismans. Suddenly, there was a commotion not far away. The street where Wen Jiu's stall is located does not have much traffic. After all, how much rent you pay depends on what kind of land you occupy. But when she looked over curiously, she saw a crowd of people in front of her on the left, and it was very noisy. Get out of the way. A few people in white military uniforms were seen marching in unison with majestic postures to break through the crowd. They had guns on their waists and their eyes swept through the onlookers present, causing everyone to want to join in the fun, but couldn't help but retreat in fear. Although the Star Network world is just a virtual world, the appearance can be freely set. However, only people who are truly from the military district can wear military uniforms, shoulder straps and medals. The appearance settings of ordinary federal residents do not have these options, and they cannot be added, even if they pay extra. So even if everyone wants to watch the fun, they dare not get too close. TSK, bugs from the 1st Military District. Wen Jiu heard the voice and looked at the middle-aged uncle who was setting up a stall on her left. The other party leaned lazily on the chair and yawned with his lips smacked. Seeing Wen Jiu looking at him, he just groaned and stood up, sorting the bottles and jars on his stall while saying, "New here? Yeah." Wen Jiu turned his head and responded, then continued to stack the talismans he had drawn. The other party didn't mean to talk to him, so Wen Jiu didn't bother to talk too much. As those people in white military uniforms walked forward, more and more people gathered around, but everyone dared to watch from a distance. "Brother Yan, how long will it take to find someone? I feel like we are being watched by these people like monkeys." Mingyu played with the copper coins in his hand, and his amorous peach blossom eyes glanced around carelessly. The man he called Brother Yan did not respond to him, but walked with an indifferent expression. His eyes lightly swept over the onlookers, causing countless people to secretly marvel in their hearts. His thick ink-like hair was tied up casually, and occasionally a few strands fell on his well-defined jaw, forming a contrast with his cold white jade skin. The ordinary white military uniform was worn very well by him, with broad shoulders and a thin waist. The dark gold buttons were fastened to the top, giving him a sense of abstinence and coldness. The bolder girls kept throwing flirtatious eyes at him, but unfortunately the girls did not appreciate it, and showed no emotion. "I really don't understand why there are such tasks in the academy." Mingyu's 5 fingers flew, and the copper coins flowed through his fingertips. "If we had known earlier, we would not have accepted it. It's a waste of time, and the reward is not much." Lu Yan glanced at him coldly. "Now that things have come to this, what's the point of talking about these?" Hearing this, Mingyu suddenly felt something was wrong, smiled and squinted his eyes and immediately changed the subject. "Brother Yan, I recently received an ancient book that says that this small copper coin can be used for fortune telling. How about I tell you a fortune and try it?" "No." Lu Yan retracted his gaze, his tone indifferent. Seeing Lu Yan's refusal, Mingyu stopped talking and threw the copper coin into the air to catch it. But a breeze blew from somewhere, and Mingyu watched his copper coin being blown to the side. Then it landed steadily on a wooden table in a small stall. "Today's first update has been delivered. The speed of writing cannot keep up with the speed of posting. The little author is writing furiously. Thank you to all the little angels for the monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and collection clicks. Today is the last day of my first round of park. I hope I can successfully advance. Hehe. ****. New little cuties. Please remember to collect it. If you have tickets, please vote. If you don't have tickets, please check in or comment. Thank you to every little angel who supports me. I'm going to type like crazy now. PS. Most of the content of metaphysical fortune telling is consulted on the internet, but the little author has basically modified it, so please don't take it seriously. Please don't take it seriously. Please don't take it seriously. Nagging. The male protagonist finally appeared before I wrote 100,000 words. Hahaha, I'm so proud of you. The male protagonist is Lu Yan. You can rest assured about the emotional line. Wen Jiu will never be blinded by beauty and give up his career. Chapter 46 Fortune Teller Sunbadeo 2. 2 thumps. Wen Jiu, who was sitting and stacking amulets, looked up and saw a golden copper coin falling on her desk. She looked around for a moment before she saw a handsome young man walking towards her. "I'm sorry, I accidentally dropped my things here." Mingyu hurried over and saw this fierce looking man. Although he greeted politely, his left hand was already behind his back and gestured to Lu Yan. He wondered if he had found the target of the mission by accident. "Oh, is it this?" Wen Jiu pointed to the copper coin in the upper left corner and asked. "Yeah, that's it," Mingyu said perfunctorily after taking the copper coin back. "What are you selling at this stall?" Hearing this, Wen Jiu pointed to the calligraphy and painting hanging in front of his desk. Looking in the direction she pointed, Mingyu discovered the dragon flying and phoenix dancing handwriting. Fortune teller Sun Badao. Mingyu was a little embarrassed. In his opinion, the handwriting was quite heroic and worth collecting. But why did he write such an outrageous sentence? Thinking of this, Mingyu, who loved collecting antiques, felt uncomfortable. When Jiu saw him staring at the sign he wrote with difficulty and asked, "What's the matter, brother? Do you want to tell your fortune?" Hearing this, Mingyu shook his head and said, "No, I'm not a superstitious person." But after he finished speaking, he wanted to know who wrote this calligraphy. The handwriting looked like it was written not long ago, so it must be newly written. So Mingyu put on a polite but fake smile and sent a message to Wen Jiu. "Excuse me, which master wrote this calligraphy?" Hearing him ask this, Wen Jiu chuckled, then stroked his beard and said, "It's me, brother. Do you want to buy a calligraphy? My calligraphy is good quality and cheap. I can write whatever you want." After Wen Jiu finished speaking, Mingyu twitched his mouth unconsciously, as if he didn't believe it. But when he saw Wen Jiu took out the pen, ink, paper, and inkstone with a smile, he had an inexplicable feeling that what the man in front of him said might be true. "Hey, you." Mingyu was about to ask carefully when he heard a series of uniform footsteps behind him. He turned his head and saw Lu Yan standing on his left. The other part his slightly raised phoenix eyes looked coldly at Wen Jiu, who was trying to sell calligraphy to make money. "It's not her." Lu Yan's voice was cold and low, like ice that would not melt for 1,000 years, with a lot of coldness. After saying that, his dark eyes glanced at the wooden table in front of him without leaving a trace. In addition to a set of pens, inkstones, paper and inkstone, there were also scattered papers that looked like talismans. However, during the few seconds when he was checking the items, Wen Jiu also observed him calmly. It must be said that this man is very pleasing to the eye. His facial features are delicate, his nose is high, and his slightly upturned phoenix eyes have a somewhat seductive atmosphere in his coldness. His lips are very beautiful in shape, with a faint red. Judging from his face, he is no more than 16 or 17 years old. I believe that he will have a more extraordinary feeling in a few years. Even when Jiu, who is used to seeing those handsome men and beautiful women in the past, still feels very amazing. I don't know if he is so outstanding himself, or if he relies on some magical face-pinching technology, and is only like this in the Star Network world. However, when Jiu still asked decisively, "Handsome man, do you want to have your fortune told? I see that you are handsome, and must be a blessed person." After he finished speaking, Lu Yan and her eyes met, and the air was stagnant for a moment. Mingyu was very nervous seeing this scene, fearing that Lu Yan would order people to arrest Wen Jiu. However, when he was about to say something to ease the atmosphere, he heard Lu Yan's indifferent tone, "Let's go." After that, Lu Yan walked away with his people. Mingyu could only suppress his curiosity about metaphysics and fortune telling, and said goodbye to Wen Jiu embarrassedly, and then hurried to chase Lu Yan. Wen Jiu watched the money that was about to be in his hands fly away, and immediately rushed out of the stall and grabbed Mingyu's clothes. "What are you doing? Little brother, did your father die early?" Hearing this, Mingyu no longer cared about Wen Jiu pulling him, but just stared at her with slightly wide eyes. "How do you know? I see that the sun and moon corners on your forehead are tilted, especially the sun corner on the left is sunken. I'm afraid your father is no longer in the world." Seeing that Mingyu was willing to stop and listen to him, Wen Jiu said slowly, "You should have a twin brother, right?" Hearing her say this, Mingyu's peach blossom eyes were a little surprised. But he quickly came to his senses. After all, his information was not secret, and those who were interested could find out with a little inquiry. So he suppressed his curiosity and said, "I don't know where you got these things, but I'm not a fat sheep that's easy to slaughter." "No, you are." Wen Jiu had already caught the curiosity in Mingyu's eyes, so he let go of his clothes and continued to speak. "If I'm not wrong, your brother must have encountered a disaster a few days ago." After this, Mingyu subconsciously grasped the energy gun on his waist. His twin brother was attacked by an interstellar beast when he was on a mission at the academy last month, and he is still in a coma. After his mother investigated, she found that the matter was not as simple as it seemed, so the matter was suppressed by her mother. No one knew except him and his mother's confidants. So how did the big man in front of him know? What's wrong? Mengai's nervous mood was soon broken by Lu Yan, who turned back after discovering something was wrong. No, nothing. I have some private matters. Mengai put down the hand holding the energy gun, stared into Wen Jiu's eyes and continued, Brother Yan, can I talk to this big brother? They came to the Starry Sky night market this time to find the wanted criminal Cao Zhao. In addition to them, there was another team waiting in the dark. He and Lu Yan were mainly responsible for pretending to be rich and wealthy children to attract everyone's attention, so that another team could take the opportunity to find Cao Zhao hiding in the Starlight Night Market, so he couldn't waste too much time. Mengai was afraid that Lu Yan, as the captain, would refuse his request. Okay, Lu Yan unexpectedly agreed to Mingyu's request, his voice still cold. Finish it in 5 minutes and return to the team. After that, he led the others to continue pretending to stroll around. After getting Lu Yan's permission, Mingyu looked at Wen Jiu fiercely, and the previous lively and enthusiastic expression was swept away, leaving only a murderous intent. But Wen Jiu was not afraid at all, and walked to the stall on his own, then sat down, and looked at Mingyu who was standing in front of the table. You have beautiful and clear eyebrows, long and beautiful. You should have a very good relationship with your brother, and rely on each other very much. It's just that, when you took the copper coin just now, I saw that your index finger was pierced, and I saw that your official and killing appeared at the same time, so I calculated that your brother had a disaster a few days ago. Before he had time to ask, he was stunned by Wen Jiu's words. Mingyu really didn't believe in superstition, but the man in front of him actually said every word that was true and well reasoned. He was shocked in his heart. After all, young people can't hide things. Seeing that Wen Jiu's words were so accurate, Mingai couldn't help but ask, Master, what else can you see? Wen Jiu smiled and stretched out his hand. 600 star coins for one calculation. Pay first and then tell the fortune. Today's second update. Haha, you didn't expect that I would still be typing so late. Cack. The third update will be delivered in the afternoon. I can't write anymore and need to go to bed. ORZ. Thank you little angels for the monthly tickets, recommendation tickets and collection clicks. Every support from you is very important to me, and I will remember it in my heart. 030 new little cuties, remember to collect it. If possible, vote for it by the way. If you don't have votes, just check in or comment. Hehe. PS. 1. There are inquiries about the content of fortune telling and metaphysics, but most of them are modified by the author himself, so please don't take it seriously. The author is not a professional metaphysical person. Don't take it seriously. 2. The setting of the virtual image of the star network is not a bug. As for why Wen Jiu can successfully tell fortunes for people in the star network world, there will be an explanation later. Nagging, archangels who have been following the book and voting, let me give you a big heart. I have received your support. I'm full of motivation to write every day. Open bracket close bracket. Chapter 47 Fortune Teller Sunbad 03. Mengai was stunned by the sudden words. Why did he ask for money? Wen Jiu seemed to see his doubts and stroked his beard and said, Brother, I need to make a living. But you can rest assured, it costs 600 star coins for one calculation. You won't be cheated or fooled. Except for the winning number of this lottery, I can calculate how old you will be when you get married and how many children you will have in the future. Do you want to try it? Wen Jiu was promoting his fortune-telling business slowly, but before Mingai could say anything, she heard a sneer from the next room. She and Mingai turned their heads and saw the middle-aged uncle who had set up a stall on Wen Jiu's left staring at them with a mocking look. I said, stop fooling people. If you can really calculate everything, why don't you calculate when you will make a fortune? Why are you setting up a stall here? Wen Jiu was not happy to hear this. As the saying goes, a doctor does not treat himself, and people who can tell fortunes rarely tell their own fortunes. After she was adopted by her master, she began to practice Taoism at a young age. Among them, she had to learn the 5 arts of Zuanmen: mountain, medicine, fate, physiognomy, and divination. 1. Because she was born with a spiritual body, she learned each of the 5 arts of Zuanmen very well. If it weren't for her master not allowing her, and her senior brothers and sisters, to indulge in making money, they would have been rich just by fortune telling and selling talismans. Unfortunately, she is now extremely poor, and can only make money by relying on her extraordinary talent. Brother, people who can tell fortunes never tell their own fortunes. Wen Jiu no longer looked at the person who interrupted him, but just sat at the table waiting for Mingyu's answer. I don't know what the man who was setting up a stall next to her was thinking. He actually ran to Wen Jiu and stretched out his hand. TSK, then you calculate it for me first. Wen Jiu casually glanced at the other party's outstretched hand and said coldly, you can't calculate the real result with virtual data. The Star Network world can not only choose to use virtual data to freely set the appearance image, but also directly generate the user's real appearance as the image in the Star Network world. However, no matter how realistic the appearance image created by virtual data is, it does not have the sense of reality generated by real appearance. After Wen Jiu came to the Star Network world several times, he could roughly distinguish which people used real appearance and which people used fake face pinching data. For example, Mingyu and Zhuang Rudi, she observed that the other party used real appearance, so she could see the result from the other party's face and palm. And this lazy middle-aged uncle in front of him, although he completely fabricated the details of his appearance. For example, the thick calluses on his hands, the scars under his eyes, and the unshaven beard and greasy hair. But the sense of falsehood brought by the data still cannot be concealed. So Wen Jiu would not tell fortunes for such people by looking at their faces or palms. But if she wanted to tell fortunes, she could do it either by giving the real birth date or by using divination. But the man in front of him looked like someone who was looking for trouble, so Wen Jiu didn't want to pay too much attention to him. Little brother, have you thought about it? I'll tell you for 600 star coins each time, and you won't regret it. Wen Jiu knocked on the wooden table twice, which instantly woke up Mingyu, who was lost in thought. He looked at Wen Jiu, then at the middle-aged man standing next to him with a mocking look on his face, and whispered, I'll try to calculate one, but can you not let others hear it? Everyone needs privacy. Wen Jiu understands him very well, so he said, how about this, you add me as a Star Network friend, transfer the money first, and then I will send you the result in text form. How about it? Hearing this, Mingyu thought this method was feasible, so he opened his own light screen panel and added Wen Jiu as a Star Network friend, and then readily transferred 600 star coins to him. Family wealth 9. I received the money. Tell me what you want to calculate. Future master of the Ming family, can you calculate who harmed my brother? Or calculate when he can wake up? ZHIG did a perfect job in privacy protection. Even if the middle-aged man who came to make trouble was standing next to Mingyu, he could not see what was displayed on his light screen panel. So Wen Jiu just communicated with Mingyu without worrying about being seen by others. Stretch out your hand and let me see your palm lines. Mingyu obediently placed her hand on the table, showing her palm to Wen Jiu. Wen Jiu only looked at it carefully for a few seconds, then took out the 3 copper coins he had bought earlier. She put her hands together to wrap the copper coins, shook them up and down a few times seemingly casually, and then threw the copper coins on the table. Then she picked up the copper coins again, put her hands together, and threw them out again, repeating this several times before she finished. Family wealth 9. Jen is on top and DUI is on the bottom. The upper part is the mountain and the lower part is the marsh. There are gains and losses, and there are gains and losses and gains. 2. Family wealth 9. In short, the current situation is not very good, and there is even a sign of financial loss. However, there will be losses first, but it will turn out to be a blessing in disguise. 2. Family wealth 9. Your company will probably face a low period in the future, but as long as it passes smoothly, it will rise to a new height. Future master of Ming family, master, although your words seem powerful, you haven't said anything about what to do with my brother after saying so much. Wealthy family, hey, don't worry, I took your money, so I have to do good things. Wealthy family, those monsters will naturally emerge during the low period, and then we can find out who harmed your brother. And your brother's coma is not completely hopeless. There is a ray of hope in the southeast, and he will wake up within 7 days. The more Wen Jiu listened, the more he felt that Wen Jiu was fooling him. He just wanted to ask the other party to return the money, but he received a message from his mother. Meng Group welcomes Meng Chun, Jiu, your brother is saved. Uncle Wang just sent a message that he successfully found the doctor on Su Meng Star who was rumored to be able to cure the toxins of the Red Asian giant beast. His twin brother was bitten and poisoned after encountering a large number of Red Asian giant beasts. That's why he has been in a coma. But few people can remove the toxin of the red sub-beast. After being poisoned, they can only sleep and die quietly in their sleep. In order to help his brother detoxify, his mother looked for all the doctors who are good at treating poisons on the Imperial Capital Star, but none of them could treat the toxin of the red sub-beast. A few days ago, they heard that there was a retired old doctor on the Su Meng Star who could treat it, but they couldn't find this person after searching for a long time. During this period, their family was almost in despair, but they didn't expect to find him successfully today. What's more, Su Meng Star is just southeast of the Imperial Capital Star. The third update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and clicks on the collection. 030 new little cuties, remember to collect it. If you have votes, please vote. If you don't have votes, you can check in or comment. If you have any suggestions, you can leave a comment to me. Thank you for your support. 030 thank you readers for eating ice cream. Reward. I wish you a happy day. PS. 1. Reference to the 5 arts of Chinese metaphysics. 2. Reference to the detailed explanation of the 41st hexagram of the Book of Changes. Once again, I emphasize that the author does not know fortune telling. Please do not take it seriously. There are references and self-compilations. Please do not delve into it. Thoughts. I did not expect to write 100,000 words so quickly, quietly leaving a footprint as a commemoration. The emotional line between the male and female protagonists is very long, with many foreshadowings, and it is a long-lasting relationship. Chapter 48. Anti-counterfeiting expert Sun Bad AO1. Meng Jiu was quite surprised by such a coincidence. Could it be that the big man in front of him really had some ability to reveal the secrets of heaven? However, he still had some doubts about Wen Jiu's ability. Maybe he was just getting lucky. He should just treat these 600 star coins as money to buy peace of mind. Meng Jiu didn't have any other questions to ask, so he simply stood up and said, "Master, I have something to do, so I'll leave first." Wen Jiu saw through the suspicion in his eyes, but she didn't try to keep him. She just threw Meng Jiu 2 amulets she had folded. "You are the first customer of my stall. I give you these amulets as a friend." "Yes, thank you." Meng Jiu didn't even look at the 2 amulets and casually put them into her wisdom ring space. Then she hurried to find Lu Yan to meet up. Meng Jiu walked along the place where Lu Yan left and soon saw Lu Yan and others in front of an ice drink shop. The soldiers from the military district who assisted them were standing beside Lu Yan. He just stood there coldly like a pine tree, which was enough to attract the attention of everyone passing by. Damn, Lu Yan should really use the virtual image setting. His master Meng Jiu's handsome face is not worth mentioning in front of Lu Yan. "Brother Yan, I'm back." Meng Jiu sighed deeply. He should just be a green leaf to set off Lu Yan. Lu Yan just nodded indifferently, then turned on the light screen panel to send a signal to the small team hidden in the dark. Seeing him do this, Meng Jiu immediately put away his previous sloppy image, stood at attention, and was ready to fight at any time. The suspicious person has been locked and is ready to start interception. Whether it is the use of the wisdom ring or entering the Star Network world, it is necessary to rely on the mental power of the real person in reality, especially when using mental power to enter the Star Network world. Once entering, the real person's body will be in a state of being unable to move. Although they can sense the surrounding environment in reality, they cannot control their actions as long as they do not leave the Star Network world. So the main task of Liu Yan and his team this time is to intercept the wanted criminal Cao Zhao from leaving the Star Network world. The energy guns they are equipped with are very special. They can control the other party to leave and force him to stay in the Star Network world and even damage other people's spirits. Mingyu was a little confused after receiving the order. How could Liu Yan successfully lock the suspicious person when he was just fortune telling? But Liu Yan is the captain and commander of their mission this time. He just needs to follow Liu Yan's arrangements. Liu Yan slowly closed his eyes, and his powerful mental power instantly covered the entire Starlight Night Market. He could sense any movement in an instant. Apply for temporary evacuation near stall 065 in area B. Liu Yan opened his eyes, and his ink-like black eyes turned into a deep blue. His expression was also more indifferent than before, like a robot without any emotional fluctuations. But at this moment, a slight fluctuation suddenly appeared on his cold face. Immediately exit the Star Network world and go to the real coordinates of number 30, Axe Street, Poker District. After the words fell, all the team members who received the signal instantly exited the Star Network world. No one asked why, they just knew to follow Liu Yan's orders. Wen Jiu was leaning over the table and began to draw other talismans. After all, she had not drawn talismans for a while. As the saying goes, if you don't practice for 1 day, your hands and feet will be slow. If you don't practice for 2 days, you will lose half of them. If you don't practice for 3 days, you will be a layman. And if you don't practice for 4 days, you will be staring at them. 1. Even if she is gifted, she still needs to practice. However, Wen Jiu is different from ordinary people. Others will feel that their spiritual power is exhausted after drawing at most 3 talismans a day. She can be called a human talisman machine when drawing talismans. It is not a problem to draw 30 or 40 talismans a day. In the past, before the senior brothers and sisters went down the mountain to train, they would come to her to take a bundle of talismans away. She also said that when she went down the mountain to train, she would ask them to take back the talismans she had lost. She never expected that she would not wait to go down the mountain for training, but wait to experience another world. Wen Jiu thought, while drawing a talisman smoothly, she twisted her hands and skillfully threw the yellow paper aside to wait for the handwriting to dry. She was about to draw a few more to practice, but suddenly she felt a strange feeling. It was as if someone was watching her in the dark. Wen Jiu looked around and didn't find any traces. "Boss, what are you selling?" A crisp female voice sounded. Wen Jiu looked and saw a little girl with twin ponytails squatting in front of the uncle's stall next door, fiddling with the bottles and jars on the ground curiously. Seeing that there was another business coming, Cao Zhao put on a flattering smile and picked up a pink jar and said, "Little girl, you really know what you are talking about. This is a whitening cream made with an ancient Chinese secret recipe." The innocent little girl took the pink jar he handed over, opened the lid, and saw that it was filled with a thick white paste, and there was a strong floral fragrance emanating from it. "Uncle, how should I use this?" The little girl was quite intoxicated by the floral fragrance. "Just apply it on your face every night, and you can get a degree whiter in less than a month." After saying that, Cao Zhao stretched out his rough hand to count and continued, "Only 800 star coins." After saying that, the little girl put down the pink jar reluctantly. This price was really a bit expensive for her. The ordinary skincare and whitening essence only cost 300 star coins. Seeing her put down the pink jar, Cao Zhao quickly said, "Little girl, don't leave in a hurry. I made this with an ancient Chinese secret recipe passed down from my ancestors. It is pure and natural without any industrial additives. It can not only whiten and tenderize the skin, but also remove acne and spots. It can also be used on sensitive skin." Hearing him say this, the little girl suddenly became hesitant. She was born with dark skin and prone to acne, and was often laughed at by her classmates. If this whitening cream is really that magical, it seems that 800 star coins are not too expensive. Thinking of this, she wanted to bite her teeth and buy a can to try. "Uncle, I wanted." Looking at the innocent little girl in front of him, Cao Zhao's smile on his face became thicker. "There are so many stupid people." Puff. Before the little girl finished speaking, she heard Wen Jiu next to her laugh briefly. She turned her head to look at Wen Jiu with a puzzled look on her face, and after seeing Wen Jiu's appearance clearly, she turned her head back and shrank her neck. The uncle next door looks so scary. Is he trying to rob me? She immediately remembered all the social news she had read on the Star Network and was so scared that she hurriedly dropped the jar of whitening cream and left here quickly. What do you mean, the one next door? The fat sheep I got just slipped away. Seeing the little girl suddenly go away, Kazuo was so angry that he pointed his finger at Wen Jiu and asked. If he hadn't seen that Wen Jiu also looked fierce, he would have picked up a weapon and beat her up. I don't mean anything. I just remembered something funny. Wen Jiu supported himself on the wooden table with one hand, not hiding the slightly playful smile on his face. 10 minutes ago, she saw Kazuo pick up an identical pink jar and try to coax an old woman that it was an ancient Chinese secret recipe Chinese medicine, specializing in rheumatism and bone pain. Not only does it only take one jar to cure it, but it is also much cheaper than the ointment prescribed by regular hospitals outside. Wen Jiu has a keen sense of smell, and he can tell that the contents of the jar are the same just by smelling the smell. A formula that can cure diseases and also be used as a skincare product. How can the Interstellar Federation not treat you like a treasure? Today's first update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your support in the past few days. Thank you so much. I successfully advanced to the first round of Park. Hehe 030. The second round of Park will start next week. Please remember to vote and support CAC. New little cuties, please remember to collect it. If you have votes, vote. If you don't have votes, it's also great to check in or comment. PS 1. From Baidu's mumbling, because I can't stand it. After typing a lot for a few days, I will temporarily update twice a day in the next few days. Woohoo, my brain is drained ORZ. But I will still be diligent in typing, and I will resume updating 3 times a day when the second round of Park starts next week. I hope all the little angels understand CAC. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49. Anti-Counterfeiting Expert Sun Bad AO2. After listening to Wen Jiu's explanation, Kazuo clenched his fists, but he didn't want to cause trouble, so he just cursed a few words and ignored Wen Jiu. A few minutes later, the little girl who had run away came back again. She carefully glanced in the direction of Wen Jiu, and seeing that he was not looking at her, she quickly picked up the pink jar and opened the light screen panel, wanting to pay and leave immediately. But as soon as she opened the payment interface, she heard Wen Jiu lazily say, "Little sister, if I were you, I wouldn't buy this so-called whitening cream." In fact, Wen Jiu didn't want to cut off other people's wealth, but she clearly smelled a hint of some addictive herbs from the smell emanating from the jar. Although she didn't know how addiction was formed in this world, she didn't need to think about it to know that things with this kind of herbs must not be good stuff. If she didn't stop it, her conscience would not be able to get through. Hearing this, the little girl was stunned. This time, Kazuo rushed directly to Wen Jiu and stared at her viciously. "Why are you so angry? Didn't you just ask me why I can tell fortunes, but don't tell them for you instead of setting up a stall here?" Wen Jiu was not afraid at all. He just sat on the chair with his arms folded and looked directly at Kazuo. "Then I want to ask you, if that whitening cream is really that magical, why is your face still full of pits and bumps?" After hearing what Wen Jiu said, the little girl finally reacted and instantly put down the pink jar and left. Seeing that the money he had earned flew away like this, Kazuo was furious. He was short of money now, and he finally got some goods through illegal channels to sell. Why did he have to meet such an unlucky guy like Wen Jiu today? Are you sick? Seeing Wen Jiu's righteous look, Kazuo threw a punch at her. However, Wen Jiu was well prepared and dodged it by turning sideways. But Kazuo still refused to give in. He slapped her small wooden table hard and wanted to rush over to beat her. She stood up and walked away. When she looked up, she saw a crack on the wooden table she bought, which was not of good quality. It was all money. Wen Jiu felt very distressed. She still remembered the rule that fighting was prohibited in Xinguang night market. Unfortunately, Calzaro, who had failed to beat Wen Jiu several times, was so angry that he lost his mind and completely forgot the rules of the night market. He kept swinging his fists at Wen Jiu, but was dodged by Wen Jiu around the wooden table again and again. For a moment, Calzaro felt like he was being played, and he became more and more furious. He finally couldn't help but activate his superpowers and shot a golden light at Wen Jiu. But this big guy who seemed to have only missiles turned over flexibly to avoid the golden light he shot. With a snap, Calzaro, who wanted to launch another superpower attack, was fixed in place and unable to move. It actually worked. Wen Jiu landed steadily in front of Calzaro and tentatively stretched out his hand to poke him. Calzaro just stood there with a little fear, maintaining the posture of one hand raised to attack, and the other hand hanging down, motionless. The crowd who were watching their quarrel were also stunned, not understanding why Calzaro just stood there and stopped moving. Only Wen Jiu knew that when she turned over in the air just now, she pasted a talisman she had drawn earlier on the back of Calzaro's head. She just wanted to try it out to see if the talisman she drew would work in the Star Network world. Unexpectedly, talismans could be used even in the Star Network world. What on earth did you do to me? Calzaro found that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move a single step, and even his movements and postures didn't change. This feeling of being out of control made his uneasiness reach its peak. Wen Jiu smiled and sat back on the chair. He crossed his legs and looked at Calzaro, who was trying to struggle, and said, "Don't waste your energy. I have already reported the incident to the security team of Xinguang Night Market. Someone will come to take you away soon." Hearing Wen Jiu say this, Calzaro's heart was alarmed. He was originally a wanted criminal, and he finally spent a lot of money to buy a new identity. If he was taken away by the security team, they would definitely find out that he had committed a crime and escaped before. "Brother, I didn't recognize the great man." Calzaro was very good at observing people's expressions. He immediately put on a flattering smile when entertaining guests and making money, and said in a flattering way, "Why don't you let me go first, and I will thank you a lot one day. What's more, there are only some minor conflicts between us. Why bother to alarm the security team?" Unfortunately, Wen Jiu didn't buy his tricks. Not only did he ignore his flattering words, but he even started to sell calmly. Fortune telling, divination, talisman drawing and calligraphy. The price is fair. Welcome to ask. Seeing that Wen Jiu ignored him, Calzaro gradually became angry, and swear words came out of his mouth one after another. "Keoni damn, do you think calling the security team can solve this problem? Wait until I break free from this ghost restraint, and then I will chop you, a bastard, with a knife." These swear words made the onlookers who were watching the excitement frown. They watched Wen Jiu stand up from the chair and walk in front of Calzaro, and they all thought that Wen Jiu would not be able to help but beat him up. As a result, Wen Jiu looked calm, just stretched out his fingers and quickly tapped Calzaro a few times, and Calzaro, who was cursing, suddenly calmed down. The horror on his face became even worse, and his pupils shrank and stared at Wen Jiu, and cold sweat kept sliding down his forehead. After resolving the noise, Wen Jiu put his hands on his hips with satisfaction. Sure enough, some means are needed to deal with such people. She didn't do anything, but just pressed his mute point to make him unable to speak. Not long after, a 4-member security team came to Wen Jiu's stall and asked if she had reported the owner of stall 065 in area B. Wen Jiu nodded and explained the whole story. After the security team simply checked the bottles and jars on Calzaro's stall, they found the addictive herbal ingredients. They strode forward and took out the energy network specially used to bind mental power, ready to capture Calzaro and interrogate him. As a result, Calzaro suddenly flashed like black and white snowflakes on an old TV and disappeared in front of them in an instant. Seeing this, the security team quickly reported to their superiors and applied for an investigation. Wen Jiu looked at the ashes flying in the air in confusion. Her immobilization talisman was actually burned by someone else. At the same time, Mission accomplished. The wanted criminal Cao Zhao has been arrested. Lu Yan withdrew his mental power, and the azure color in his eyes gradually faded. Ming Yu beside him was so excited that he almost jumped up and down to turn around in circles. Brother Yan, how did you successfully lock onto Cao Zhao's real coordinates? Have you advanced your abilities again? Lu Yan shook his head slowly, his eyes indifferent. When he used his mental power to explore the Star Network world before, he noticed that the fortune teller had a dispute with the person he had locked onto as a suspect. After only a short while, he suddenly sensed a large fluctuation in the mental power of the suspect, which allowed him to successfully lock onto the other party's real coordinates. So he made a decisive decision and sent a whole team to this real coordinate in time. After breaking open the door, he saw Cao Zhao sitting on the bed defenselessly. Although his mental power continued to fluctuate, he seemed to be trapped by something and could not get out of the Star Network world. So they just managed to capture this wanted criminal who had been on the run for a long time without any effort. Today's second update, dear little angels. Please check it out. Thank you for your monthly tickets, recommendation tickets, and favorites. The little angels who insist on checking in every day are also great. He030, the third update will be sent in the afternoon. New little cuties, remember to collect it, and it would be the best if you can vote. Whispering, you are welcome to comment if you have any suggestions. The male protagonist's plot will not last too long. At present, the female protagonist's career line is still the main focus. But the emotional line between our male and female protagonists is long lasting and has many foreshadowings. Those who love to eat sugar don't have to worry about the emotional line. 030. Chapter 50. Anti-counterfeiting expert Sunbad AO3. Lu Yan was very interested in the person who trapped Cao Zhao, so he ordered Ming Yu and others to successfully subdue Cao Zhao and then tried to forcibly take him away from the Star Network world. In the process, he could feel that the mental strength of the person who trapped Cao Zhao was comparable to his own. It took a long time, and Lu Yan's lips turned pale, to forcibly take Cao Zhao away from the Star Network world. However, Cao Zhao's mental strength was attacked in the Star Network world, and he was now unconscious. This time the mission reward will be doubled. Ming Yu was very happy. Let's go, Brother Yan, we should go back to hand in the mission. For this mission, their team first ran to the garbage planet, where Cao Zhao was hiding, and then stayed in the Star Network world for a long time to gather intelligence, and now they have consumed a lot of energy and time. So, Lu Yan lowered his eyes, suppressed his rare interest, and silently sent a message to the teacher, who was supposed to pick them up with the wisdom ring, to request to return to the Imperial Capital Military Academy. Before the teacher arrived, Cao Zhao was taken away by the garrison mecha soldiers of the 1st Military Region. Lu Yan and his team were soon picked up by the teachers of the Imperial Capital Military Academy and put on a hovercraft, and then went to the port to take an interstellar spaceship back to the Imperial Capital Star. Everyone did a good job this time. Not only did you solve the task perfectly, but you also successfully captured the target of the task. The teacher praised them one sentence after another on the huge hovercraft. In order to enable students to grow quickly, the 5 major military academies of the Federation have established cooperative relationships with the military regions that support them behind the scenes. These tasks will be released from time to time, and then students will form teams to accept them freely. For example, killing some interstellar alien beasts, collecting some mutant plants, or assisting in the pursuit of a fugitive with a low risk factor, etc. After completing the task, you can get a generous reward, so many military academy students will take the task when they are free. Lu Yan is a legendary student in the 5 major military academies. No matter how difficult the task is, as long as he leads the team and takes charge, there is nothing that cannot be completed. Therefore, the students in the Imperial Capital Military Academy were eager to team up with him, but he was indifferent and rarely made friends with others. He only did his job properly when doing tasks. Every time he accepted a task and chose teammates, he only looked at whether the other party's ability was suitable. He would never let them join the team because of friendship or bribery. What's more, he didn't need any bribes at all. The Lu family, where Lu Yan was located, was not only a super family in the imperial capital Star, but also controlled a powerful force like the first military region. Teacher, don't talk so much nonsense. If we exceed the task, shouldn't the reward be doubled? Mingyu was tired of the teacher's praise and just wanted to know how the reward for this task should be calculated. The teacher smiled and said, open your Ziji space and you will know. The reward has been distributed. Hearing the teacher say this, Mingyu quickly clicked on his light screen panel. Not only did it contain the original task rewards, but also a lot of extra good things. However, when he checked the space, he remembered the 2 amulets that Wen Jiu had forced on him before. Mingyu took one of them out and looked at it in his palm. There were various characters on the yellow paper, folded into a triangle, that he couldn't understand. What is this? He was fiddling with the amulet in his palm when he suddenly heard Lu Yan, who was sitting next to him, ask. Lu Yan had closed his eyes and was thinking about the mysterious man who trapped Calzaro, but suddenly he felt a familiar mental fluctuation. He carefully sensed it for a moment and found that the weak mental fluctuation came from the small paper triangle in Mingyu's hand. It seems to be some kind of amulet. It was given to me by the fortune teller before. Mingyu explained briefly and immediately handed the amulet in his hand to Lu Yan. Is there anything wrong with this thing, Brother Yan? After all, Lu Yan has never been interested in anything. Mingyu has been in contact with him for such a long time, but this is the first time he has seen him question. To be honest, Mingyu privately felt that Lu Yan's lack of emotions had reached a terrible level. If he could not confirm that Lu Yan was a real person, he might have believed those rumors and thought that Lu Yan was a modern high-intelligence robot. Lu Yan took the amulet and took a look. He was more certain that the spiritual power attached to it and the spiritual power that trapped Calzaro came from the same person. Was it given by the big man at the fortune-telling stall before? But he had secretly investigated that man at that time, and the other party's spiritual power was not strong. Nothing. Lu Yan looked out of the car window with deep eyes and clenched the amulet in his palm. After Calzaro disappeared inexplicably, Wen Jiu quietly watched the security team members start to deal with the aftermath. They confiscated all the items that Calzaro had set up at the stall, and after contacting their superiors, they came to ask Wen Jiu for details. Wen Jiu recounted the incident again slowly and left some of his own information, and the security team members left here. After they left, the crowds who gathered to watch the excitement also dispersed. Wen Jiu looked at the time and estimated that he should go offline and return to reality to rest after setting up the stall for another half an hour. I don't know if I can open another order in this short time. Fortune telling, divination, talisman drawing and calligraphy. The price is fair. Welcome to ask. She lazily shouted, and occasionally curious passers-by cast their eyes, but not many people believed in metaphysics and patronized her business. Alas, I don't know if my brave act can be exchanged for some bonus. She just heard clearly from the security team that the uncle was actually a wanted criminal. Wen Jiu shouted for a while but no one came to patronize. Calculating the time, she stood up and patted the dust on her body, ready to pack up her things and leave the Star Network world. Just as she put the chair back, a red figure suddenly appeared in front of her. She looked up and saw that it was the woman who wanted to cheat her money before. Sun Badeo. Zhuang Rudi was very embarrassed at this time, with gaps on her cloak, cut by sharp weapons and stains on her skirt. Did you curse me secretly behind my back? After she finished speaking, she angrily slapped the table hard, and her hood slipped off in an instant, revealing her beautiful face. But Wen Jiu was not in the mood to appreciate her beauty at the moment. After meeting Lu Yan, she suddenly felt that her aesthetic level had been raised a lot. Don't say anything nonsense. I, Sun Badeo, do things openly and honestly, but I never do witchcraft. After saying that, Wen Jiu immediately put away his desk. I really don't understand why these people have to slap her small table so hard that the table she just bought was full of cracks. This small wooden table cost her a full 800 star coins. Because Wen Jiu suddenly put away the wooden table, Zhuang Rudi's upper body, which was originally supported on the wooden table, suddenly fell forward and almost fell to the ground. I don't care what kind of magic you have. I've been unlucky since I met you today. Today's third update has been delivered. Thank you little angels for your monthly votes, recommendation votes and collections. Thank you so much for your support during this period 030. A little flower for the little angels who vote frequently. New little cuties, remember to collect them. It would be best if you can vote. If you don't have a vote, you can check in or comment. Thank you very much. I would like to thank bookfriend 150,315,190,356,308 for his reward. I wish you happiness every day and everything goes well. Mumbling, tomorrow will temporarily become 2 updates, and 3 updates will be restored next Tuesday. The little author will still work hard to write these days, and then will think about the subsequent plot carefully, to make it look more refreshing for everyone. 030. Recently, I have realized a lot of my own shortcomings while writing. The little author will make serious improvements during these few days. I will not let down the love and support of every reader. Little angel. =W=. I whispered. It feels like I talk a lot. Haha. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.